watching Park City Television's coverage of 5A state final football action. We got a beautiful matchup. I'm Link Carlin with Pat Lovell, and we've got the Brighton Bengals going up against the Skyline Eagles. Patrick, a fantastic game. Two-story programs.
Two-storied programs, and how psyched are you to be on the turf here? It doesn't get much better. Beautiful weather, which should bode well for both of these teams. We know that Skyline can run the ball, and if Matt Marshall is seeing it like he did last week, it could be a very dangerous weapon for these Skyline Eagles.
You talk about Matt Marshall. Here's a kid who's trying to repeat what his father did back in 1969. Steve Marshall won a state championship for Skyline. Now his son trying to do the same thing, but he's going up against a very solid Brighton team, a team that just does not make mistakes, Pat.
They're so well coached. It seems like their head coach, Tom Cushing, is just so focused, and his intensity is quiet, but at the same time, they know not to turn the ball over. We saw that with disastrous effects for some teams that have made it here to the carpet so far. But when you get into the state championship, like national championship, Super Bowl, under the microscope, when you make a mistake, sometimes it has a tendency to go downhill fast. Certainly don't want to turn the ball over, and I think that if a team knows how to play this game, it's certainly this Brighton Bengals.
Right, turnovers will totally be magnified in a game like this. Let's talk about Brighton, okay? They've got an all-world player in Mike Hague, okay? A guy that could possibly be the 5A player of the year. I don't think there's any doubt in my mind. But, this is a well-rounded team, and it's much more than just Mike Hague.
Yeah, but you definitely got to start with Mike Hague when you think about this Bengals team, and he is such an impact player, and he's got my vote for Mr. Football this year, 2005, at least in Class 5A, because he can kill you at all positions. Defense, special teams. We saw him run back 2 long kickoff returns, one of which was a touchdown last week. That was absolute insanity, and not to mention the week before against Bingham, he had that huge interception, not to mention the big tackle on Jonathan Cuff. So Michael Hague is your impact player, no doubt about it. But see, what makes him so special is if he gets a few yards and starts exploding, Matt Marietta and Mike Hickens, in terms of these skill players for the Brighton Bengals, are as good as anyone we've seen.
Yeah, and Matt Marietta, the quarterback for Brighton, has had an outstanding few weeks over the last couple of days, really starting to shine. And, he's got some great receivers on the outside, including Mike Hickens.
Yeah, he's not afraid. Would you say that? He's not afraid. He can step into any environment, and I think he's just so confident. It feels like he knows what he has to do. I think what is so unique about this game is this Skyline team is a much different team than what Brighton saw earlier in the season. Their defense has been shored up. They've got several players that have returned from injuries. They're at full strength, and more importantly, when you're a Skyline Eagle, you've got this tradition like none other in the state of Utah.
And it's a team that's just brimming with confidence right now. They went through a very tough spot earlier this season, lost 4 games in a row, but now they're on a huge winning streak, okay, and they've really, defensively especially, have shut down teams over the last 3 weeks, giving up 10, 7, and 3 respectively over the last 3 weeks.
It's going to be interesting how they match up today. It's going to be amazing how they play Mike Hague, because if you go too hard on Hague and try to stop that run, you're going to have to be really careful of that passing game. It's definitely going to be one in the trenches.
I'm curious to see if that line for Skyline, okay, let's see it. Skyline probably outsizes Brighton on the offensive and defensive lines, and can those guys wear down Brighton and see what's going to happen, and maybe get on those little smaller linebackers. Jesse Taylor, outstanding linebacker for Brighton, but undersized. If some of those big linemen for Skyline get on him, it could be hard to get around.
Yeah, I think really what the key to this game is whether or not that huge defensive front for Skyline, Brian Vaulu especially, can really play keys and get some pressure in the backfield and try to mix things up, and I think that's where this game's going to be won, and turnovers, of course.
Always turnovers, always won and lost in the trenches, and as far as Hague goes, you can't stop him, you can only hope to contain him, and that's Skyline's task coming up. 5A championship game just around the corner. The big boys are on the field.
Park City Television's broadcast of the Game of the Week is proudly brought to you by Wells Fargo Bank, the University of Utah, continuing education at the U, classes for all ages. John Meekum Dodge Chrysler Jeep. The Truth. Want to help tackle your tobacco addiction? Call 888-567-TRUTH. Trail Stars, never get lost again. And Comcast. Catch your favorite high school game on demand.
Back in with Coach Roger Dupay pre-game before the state championship game. We got the big boys on the field. We got the 5A. And Coach, your team, the Skyline Eagles, come off a few great victories in a row, and your team seems to be building with confidence.
Well, I'm real proud of the kids. We had our backs to the wall, and they came out scratching and fighting, and we played some good teams, and we're able to, make it to the final. So we're just real excited to be here.
Yeah, you make a nice turnaround after a fairly long losing streak. I think that was the longest in like 30 years, I heard. But your team has really turned it around. What do you contribute that to?
Well, there's got to be a lot of factors. I think everybody just worked real hard, and we got some breaks, and the kids really tried their hardest, and we got a couple of kids back from injury, Ben Marlowe and Jason Hanks, and that really helped the defense a little bit. We just kind of everything kind of came together.
Yeah, pieces falling together at the right time.
That's right.
Okay, now you face off against Brighton, a team that's only lost one game all year, a very, very solid team. What's your mindset going into this game?
Well, we played them before and they got us, and they're an outstanding team. Their coaches are good coaches. They've only lost 2 games in the last 2 years, so it's a solid program, a winning tradition. We're going to have our hands full with their whole team. Their defense gets overlooked a little bit because of Mike Hagan, and that's understandable, but their defense is a real strong unit too.
Yeah, they shut down an Alta team for pretty well last week, and you talked about Mike Hagan, arguably maybe player of the year in 5A, but I guess you can't just solely concentrate on Mike Hagan.
No, Marietta's a good quarterback. They got a couple good receivers, and the offensive line comes off the ball really well, so they certainly have some weapons, but you really have to concentrate on Mike a lot too.
Yeah, obviously we saw what happened last week on a couple of kickoffs. The guy will break it, in any form of the game, defense, offense, and special teams.
He's just an outstanding player. He'll do well at BYU.
Yeah, he'll do fantastic. Now you got a quarterback, Matt Marshall, who really seems to be making a lot of really sharp reads, kind of the leader of your offense and the spark plug.
Matt's played really well. He and Mike are good friends, so but Matt has played extremely well the last 3 or 4 weeks for us, and he's really got to come up with a big game today.
All right, obviously a solid game coming up between Skyline and Brighton. Stay tuned. We'll have Tom Cushing right after this.
Welcome back to the program. We're here with head coach Tom Cushing of the Brighton Bengals, and I guess the first thing is to say congratulations for being here. Had a great season, obviously a great victory over the Alta Hawks. How are you guys feeling today?
Thanks, Patrick, for that. We feel great. Very excited. This is a opportunity for the kids that they dream about for their whole lives. So we're real happy.
Well, you guys have executed all season long, and we've got some outstanding talent, some smart players. What do you think are the keys to this ball game?
Well, probably turnovers and penalties, number one. Told the kids that all week long. We tell them that every week. I think poise in a state championship game, you got to be poised. Don't make a dumb penalty or a dumb mistake here and there. Special teams is going to be big. Field position is going to be big. Limiting their big plays and probably red zone, those things.
Well, you're very familiar with the Skyline team. You guys are region foes. You guys obviously have had the toughest region in the entire state this year, as indicated by the teams that have gotten this far. This game obviously is going to be a matchup in the trenches. How do you like that defensive line for Skyline today?
Well, they're very good, and they struggled, of course, mid-season, but during the tournament, I think they're averaging giving up 7 points a game. So their defense is really coming on strong. They're going to have to figure out a way to move the ball.
Well, Coach, we wish you the very best of luck today in the state finals. The Brighton Bengals head coach Tom Cushing will be back with the opening kickoff.
Everywhere you go in Park City, you're bound to run into a friend. In the streets, on the mountain, and out in the community. Yes, over the years, the University of Utah and Park City have established a great friendship. That's why we offer a variety of credit, non-credit, and continuing education classes at our Park City campus in the old high school building on Park Avenue. The University of Utah in Park City, where the education is just a little higher.
You're watching Park City Television's coverage of high school football, and we've got a fantastic ball game. 5A final action, state championship on the line. The Skyline Eagles versus the Brighton Bengals. I'm Link Carlin. I'm sitting here with Pat Lovell, and you're looking right there at the Brighton Bengals, all in blue. Their first state championship challenge since 1982, Pat.
Yeah, you know, the folks around this state like to talk about that holy war, which will take place tomorrow on Saturday between BYU and the University of Utah. But this is a Region 2 holy war between two outstanding programs. And, of course, Roger Dupay is the all-time state championship leader, at least in recent memory, I should say, playing potentially for his 8th state title today, because he's got 7 under his belt. And, of course, Tom Cushing, his first trip to the state title. The Brighton Bengals have won their last title back in 1982.
Yeah, back in 1982 at Skyline. 13 state titles over the years. The first one they got in 1967, under H.G. Linford. But now, Coach Roger Dupay has taken over, and in his 19 years, like you said, 7 state titles, just an outstanding program, and he's been with his entire staff almost that whole time.
Yeah, you know, folks that have paid attention to this season are pretty surprised that the Skyline Eagles are in here, considering they've got a young team in their worst season on record getting to this point. Usually they come in here with 1 loss on the season. Of course, they've had 5 on the season. But this Skyline team battled their way. They got hot in the playoffs, and that's all that matters. That's why they say when the playoffs come around, it's a new season.
Yeah, it's a whole new season, and over the last 3 weeks, there's a team that's really stepped up defensively. They've given up 10, 7, and 3 points consecutively over the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, and you were definitely worried about their defense earlier in this season, but I'll tell you, they definitely have made it a big turnaround.
As you take a look at the captains out there for the coin toss for Skyline, we've got Moecki, number 1, Johansson, 22, and Matt Marshall, the leader of that team, number 4. For the Brighton side, Salt, Sorensen, Grunander, and All-World Mike Haig.
Yeah, that's right, Mike Haig. But, you know, we know All-World is on that Skyline team, too. Moeyaki is such a stud. He was injured earlier this season, but a great player, and that is a big coin. And we are, you know, this is amazing. It looks like Brighton declines it, and Skyline is going to turn it over. It looks like Brighton's going to kick this off.
Brighton will receive, actually. Or, excuse me, Skyline will receive. As you see, Brett Cromenhock, the head referee. Let's call out the rest of the referees, shall we? Gene Van Orden, Barry Smith, Troy Cullimore, and Eddie Lewis. A nice, let's say, reward for a season well done, getting to call the 5A state championship.
That's right. People should be aware that only the best throughout the season get chosen to be able to ref this game. And so, hopefully, this game won't be decided by a penalty.
Yes, let's hope the refs do not have to decide the ball game. And, you know, it's really funny, Pat. Have you noticed that the refs tend to recognize us more than anybody else?
Well, they watch us closely. Yeah. They take these games seriously because they like to learn from their mistakes. And quite frankly, I've learned from them in the press box throughout this post-game situation, the playoffs, because they've let me know when I've made the wrong call.
Yeah, it never fails. At least once a week, the guys come out and say, hey, it's PCTV. And, you know, we're happy to be here to call this football. High school football has been a blessing for this station. I mean, you and I have loved doing this over the years, and I mean, it doesn't get much better than this as we see the teams out on the field getting introduced before the state final game. And Pat, this is what football is all about.
That's right. You know what, Link, you're from California, and I'm from Texas originally, and I think the greatest compliment I had this entire season, several people came up to me and they're like, boy, it feels like high school's reached the pinnacle like it has in Texas because of coverage of high school football on television, and we're psyched to bring it to you folks.
Yeah, and you know, back when I was playing high school in California, we didn't have any television coverage.
That's right, I know. In fact, you know what, I'm certainly hoping, folks, you need to be aware that you can buy these games if your son or grandson is playing in this game, because you certainly don't want to miss the opportunity to have this. I'll tell you, remember that Brighton Alta game last week? If you're Troy Bunting, I would be ordering 15 copies of this to send the whole family, because he had one of the best games I've ever seen.
Yeah, you know, phenomenal game, but I don't know if he wants to look at it because his team lost. And they lost to not that team right there. You're looking at Skyline, but they lost to Brighton, who comes into this game ready to go after a big win over Alta. Skyline comes in after beating West Jordan last week, and we're about ready for kickoff. And this should be a fantastic game. It's the big boys. It's the 5A state finals coming right up as we take a look. I mean, Patrick, how exciting is it as you look at Layman Toyaval on the sideline squirting his head down? Look at the Brighton side of the field. There's a billion people over there.
Oh, it's a huge crowd. Both of these schools are very large. Of course, Brighton is one of the largest 5A schools in the state, and they came out in big, big numbers. The semifinals had big numbers. Let's go down to Mark Harmson.
How fortunate are these players to be playing in such great weather conditions? Usually it's a snowstorm about these times, but they're fortunate. And keys of the games, obviously, Skyline, the rushing attack between Molisi, Toa, Johansson, and Marshall. They're averaging 7.5 yards a carry. On the other side of the ball, Brighton's going to be going the passing attack. They've obviously got Mike Haig, but Matt Marietta's been coming on strong as of late, and we'll see if he likes to go to the air.
All right, we're ready for kickoff here. Brighton will be kicking off to Skyline. They've got a great kicker, Coleman Peterson. Doubtful, Pat, that this one will be returned.
Yeah, one of the best kickers in the state. This guy can boot it from all over the field.
All right, we are just about ready to kick off the 5A state final game. Brighton about to kick off to out Skyline. Coleman Peterson boots it, and this one is going to go deep into the end zone. There'll be no return. Skyline will take over on the 20.
Yeah, as predicted, I am very interested to see how this backfield operates against this stingy defense. Of course, led by quarterback Matt Marshall. Folks, his father won a state championship for Skyline High School, and James Johansson is a very talented fullback.
There we go on play one. Marshall keeps it himself, trips in the backfield, gets forward for a game of about 5.5.
Yeah, looks like there was some penetration, but this is one of the most talented offensive lines in the state. Nick Cole at 220, very large up front and very well executed offensive line, and Higgins at 240, and then of course you're going to see Plant at 240, very well sized here, and then check out Carlson at 250.
Second down and about 4.5 to go. This time Marshall keeps it again. He pitches it out, and this one is to Malisi, who's up the sideline. He's got a lot of room. Across the 40 up to the 44.
Yeah, one guy we didn't see there was Brian Vaolu, who's starting out there at 330 pounds, and he is a giant. Take a look at this execution right here off of the line. Great blocking, stacks everybody up at the line of scrimmage, hits that hole hard, and Malisi, man, that guy is a burner.
Boy, he turned on the Jets. Got a nice seal block by Higgins on the inside. Marshall pitches the ball, and Molisi gives Skyline a first down now at the 34-yard line. He must have stepped out of bounds, but it is a first down. This time he goes off to Johansson. There's a big crease over the right side, and now he's over the 45 to the 46.
Boy, was that a big hit on both sides, man. That was Mike Haig making that tackle, and Johansson. Check out Vaulu just blowing out the lines, folks. Number 79. Beautiful, and I'll tell you, that was a nice form tackle by Mike Haig, but it looks like Johansson got the better of that one.
Vaulu and Carlson just peeled down the right side, and it gave a huge crease for Johansson. Now in the full house backfield, this time I think that's Toa Alili. Everybody getting a chance at the ball right now, and he's got a gain of 9.
Hey, and picking up right where the Skyline offense left off, they can move the ball, folks. Mike Daly, you'll see these guys downfield. These, DuPay teams do not throw a lot. Teo Li'i, man, he is very, very talented. Expect to see a lot from him. And Molisi is only a sophomore, people, and Nate Orr. But when you talk about programs restacking, you look at a sophomore like Molisi and you understand why for Skyline.
Yeah, you talk about those receivers. Skyline only averages about 70 yards a game in passing because they don't pass the ball much, but they can run the ball. This time it's Molisi around the left side. That time defended well by Jesse Taylor.
Yeah, I think Mike Kicken was in that stop as well. Let's take a look at this defensive line. Very big as well. Olsen at 235. They match up well against Skyline. Very talented. But that guy right there is incredible. And he looks like a lion, Toyavao. And then Barber is very talented as well. Colby Barber. And then Matt Snow, great size at 6'5".
And this time he hands it off to Johansson, who is across the 40 up into the 42-yard line.
This Brighton linebacker squad's got their hands full. Look at the way Jesse Taylor looks right there. I love his play, guys. He's one of the best in the state. Hey, Mooley at 230 pounds is a big linebacker, and Hannah don't have his size, but Jesse Taylor, as undersized as he is probably one of the most athletic kids in the state.
This time the pitch. It looks like Molise is going to pass. He throws it on the option pass, and that's Grunander on the pickoff. Nice job by the safety, and Skyline turns the ball over.
One of the most effective things that Brighton has had all season is great hands in the DBs. They go both ways, and we know they got a great offensive scheme, and Grunander comes up with the pick here off of a trick play, which you don't expect from Roger DuPay, but they're going for it, and right there, Grunander is right in the right position, makes the turnover, and then this game is definitely going to be decided by turnovers.
Look at Grunander go up and get the ball at its highest point, and a real nice read on the trick play on the option pass by the safety. Gives the Bengals the ball 1st and 10 on the 30. Haig, your single setback. This time it's play action to Haig. Marietta looking to pass deep downfield. He's got Hicken open. Hicken makes the catch, and Hicken's going to score. This is going to be a 70-yard touchdown pass. Marietta to Mike Hicken.
That is unbelievable. You know, I said with confidence that this game would be determined by turnovers because that's exactly what happened last week in the semifinal matchup between Brighton and Alta. And right away, Marietta makes him pay for that turnover. And Mike Hicken, probably the most talented receiver in the state, comes up with a huge grab. Look at how perfectly he runs this route. And I love the way Marietta steps up into the pocket to elude the rush, throws it a perfect pass, and check this out, man, on a line. And look at the difference in size right there. And that is going to be in the win column for Brighton.
Yeah, Hicken beat Travis Corrigan deep on the play, and great play action. Probably froze Corrigan, allowed Hicken to get behind him. Touchdown Brighton now. Peterson on for the extra point. Snap is down. Off the upright, doink. And the normally very reliable Coleman Peterson knocks one off the upright.
Well, as you recall, he had one in the semifinal right off of the upright, and I cannot believe how huge that miss is.
Do you know college goalposts are not as wide as high school goalposts, and this is starting to wear on Coleman Peterson, not able to adjust so far because he did miss one last week, or is it two?
Well, he missed one last week right off of the goalpost, just like that, so that's two in a row, but so it was one last week. But you're right, because, you know, for all intents and purposes, throughout the country, they refer to as the big house as Michigan Stadium, but this is the big house for Utah high school football, and things change here.
Right now, Brighton out with a 6-point lead off the big play to Hicken as Peterson kicks it off and he makes up for missing the extra point because he's going to keep it away from the dangerous Kalama Malisi.
Yeah, extremely dangerous. You know, you got Mike Haig on one side and you got Malisi on the other.
All right, Skyline's going to start again. After their first drive, they drive very long, about 10 plays, but get no points on the turnover. Now they start again at their 20. Full house backfield. This time Marshall keeps it, and he's wrapped up. Nice play by Hanna, just a sophomore playing his defensive end.
Let's take a look at that penetration. Number 46 was in on that. The secondary is quite frank, very fast. Jimmy Wood, 6'0". These guys have played great throughout the year. Of course, you saw Grunander with that early pick here. Fantastic hands, one of the best receivers for this Brighton team. Cole Gross as well. And then there you go, Mike Hicken, 6'2", 195-pounder, extremely talented. And this guy comes up with everything under the sun, Mike Haig.
You're going to see number 2, Jimmy Wood, back there in the secondary a lot too. Brighton fakes blitz this time, and they go off, and that's Johansson again. Grinding that is going to be gain of about 4 yards.
Well, let's see what Skyline thinks that they like here. They're running right through the middle 3 times in a row here, I believe.
You check out the D coordinator for Brighton, flashing in the signals. This time only 2 men on the backfield, Malisi and Johansson. They've got Toa Lily split down to the inside, and they toss it over in the middle. It's complete to the tight end. That's a beautiful catch by Taylor for the first down across the 45 all the way to the 48.
Well, outstanding play call with short yardage situation, and that's in a very effective play. And take a look at the way Marshall steps with a 3-yard drop, and he just delivers the ball perfectly to number 47, and that's Cameron Taylor.
Cameron Taylor slipping out untouched from his tight end position, forward for the first down. This time they go to Toa Alili, across the 50, barely across the 50.
Yeah, this is definitely exactly how these two teams got here. Skyline is all about ground control, grind out the yardage, they get that big offensive line, and Brighton makes you pay with the turnovers.
I'll tell you, and Brighton's linebackers are going to have their handful. Jesse Taylor and the other line, probably the only guy, a little small guy, that big offensive line for Skyline may be able to shield him away from the ball, but not that time. As that time it's Vaseo Salt getting in on defense.
Well, we know how talented Vaseo Salt is on both sides of the ball. That guy is probably one of the biggest reasons why Brighton is in this final game.
This time motion, the handoff, big hole for Johansson across the 40, and then drives all the way up to the 36-yard line before the defensive secondary, Hagen Wood, can bring him down.
Dude, Johansson is running like crazy right now. We talk about the hammer and nail, and he is definitely Skyline's hammer at this point.
1st and 10 for Skyline. Now they go full house backfield, tight end to the left. This time he fakes Johansson, pitches it out to Toa Alili, who's actually stacked up on the outside. And that's Hicken's first one to get there. Loss of about a half a yard.
How do you like that containment? Some teams have not defended the Skyline option very well, but look at this. That's exactly what you do. You get pressure on Matt Marshall, and then you close the gap, and then you've got those talented guys. Take a look at Jesse Taylor, hog tying down Taylor.
And a good job by Hanna, just the sophomore, stopping Marshall, forcing him to pitch. This time Toa Lily straight up the middle. gain of about 7, going to bring up 3rd down and 3.
How do you like these gaps right here? They're playing this just incredibly effective dive right now, and do you like the way that this offensive line of Skyline is firing off?
You know, we watched them last week against West Jordan just dominate the line of West Jordan, and they're starting out the same way. Other than the turnover, Skyline's done anything they want. This time Marshall keeps it. He's going to be forward. It looks like he's got the 1st down.
Yeah. It's like dripping water torture. You know, they're grinding out the yardage on this drive, and it's very effective. You know, some teams might be a little bit put off being in the stadium here. Not Skyline.
They're going to measure for this. I believe he's barely got enough for the 1st down. Marshall creep forward. You know, we talked about this offensive line. Plant, Walton, Higgins, Baulu, Carlson, and let's not forget the tight end, Taylor, doing a fine job of blocking, and they are big, okay? Brighton's going to have to do a nice job up front to keep them off their linebackers, like I said, or to get shielded away from the ball. Like I said, Jesse Taylor, a smaller-sized linebacker, you know, it's going to be hard to get around a guy like Baulu.
Yeah, right. They probably average 235 without Baulu, and that probably pumps it up to about 280 with his size. Whoa!
Oh, there's a pitch on the guy. Takes a nice bounce from Melisi, who drives, puts his head down and drives, gets back up to the 26-yard line, but what a break on the pitch.
Between the semifinals and now this, I don't remember a time I've seen a ball bounce off a turf as lucky for the offense as I have throughout these entire playoffs. Melisi comes up with an incredibly lucky bounce.
I'll tell you, that could have been a loss of about 10, but Melisi does a nice job picking that up and then just getting his head forward, getting back close to the line of scrimmage. This time, draw to Johansson, stacked up by Taylor, and Vasile Salt, who's getting a lot of time on defense this game.
And the key to that was penetration. They won the battle of the line that time.
3rd down and nearly 10 for Skyline. The ball rests on the 26-yard line. They go right to Johansson up the middle, and he's going to be close to a 1st down. I believe that's Haig that makes him pay for it.
It's incredibly impressive, this drive, because for every victory that Brighton's had with a big behind the line of scrimmage, they come right back, and it's like 3-1, and then Haig definitely does a pile drive there. You know, I've been considering a nickname for Mike Haig, and I think I might call him Thor.
Thor. Jesse Taylor underneath, and Thor the Hammer dropping it on Johansson, short of the 1st down. 4th down coming up. Skyline going to take a chance here, not going for the field goal. Would have been about a 35-yard field goal, but on 4th down, now maybe they're going to think about it.
All right, talking to some coaches over on the Skyline bench, they told me that this is the youngest team they've ever had starting in a state championship. That, in fact, the majority are sophomores and juniors out here on the field. They said that earlier on in the season when Brighton narrowly beat the Eagles, that inexperience showed with turnovers and penalties. But since then, they've really matured. They also feel that they've got an advantage in this game because they're going to be fresh. So look for fatigue to possibly play a factor as the game continues.
You know, as we come back to access Mark Harmson, but you can see the replay because Skyline goes for it on a huge play on 4th down and gets forward for the 1st down. A great surge by that O-line. Okay, big pickup on a gamble on 4th down.
Yeah, and that was a huge gamble in the red zone because they decided to go with what's worked, and they are controlling the line of scrimmage.
You know, and this whole 1st quarter has been all a Skyline offense. However, they've got a 0 on the scoreboard because the turnover cost them their 1st drive. Now 1st and 10 from the 14, and they go down. It's going to be inside the 10. As you see, 142 and counting, and Skyline's had the ball probably everything but 6 seconds.
Yeah, you're not kidding. And we see big number 88, C.J. Dorius at 6'2", coming in. I'm curious if a play action might actually be effective in a situation like this.
Skyline going with the double tight end set, full house backfield on 2nd down. This time Marshall going to go option, cuts it back inside. He's going to be right around the 5-yard line before Jesse Taylor and a few other Brighton guys can get him, but it's going to be inside the 5.
We're going to be calling Jesse Taylor's name a lot today. He's definitely shadowing Marshall, and that was a nice tackle.
3rd down coming up. Skyline can still get a 1st down on about the 3-yard line, so it's 3rd down and 2 here from the 5. Marshall trips and gets the pitch out to Toa, who's trying to turn the corner. I don't know if he's got the 1st down before Haig can get to him.
And this is why we say Mike Haig is the best all-around player that I've seen, and I could have been down. It looks like his knee was down, but take a look at Haig getting the corner right here and putting a huge hit, and once again laying down the hammer because that guy, his knee was down for sure. Marshall should have been called back.
he could have been down for about a loss of about a yard, but nonetheless, it's still going to be 4th down and just a little under a yard. The second time Skyline's had to go for it on 4th down on this drive. Ball on the 3-yard line. Toalili in motion. They go to Johansson, who's got to be forward. I believe he's got enough for the first down. They're going to probably measure, but I think he's going to be forward for the first down.
Yeah, the penetration was there, but just enough to get it. It looks like number 78 was in on the tackle. That's Rob Wilcox, and then some. There's Jesse Taylor at the outside at the bottom of your screen, and number 70 as well, fighting off a block. Number 70 is a big boy. That's Race Dotson. Oh, pardon me. I got the names completely wrong. I was looking at Skyline. I'll get that in a second.
Nonetheless, it is first down and goal now for Skyline, knocking on the door. They trail 6-0 here right at the end of the first quarter. This time Johansson is in for the score. Skyline ties it up with a 80-yard ball-controlled drive into the end zone, 6-6.
That's Roger DuPay football and Skyline football. Ball control, no mistake, grinding it out, getting the inches when they matter. Maybe the ratio of plays is 3-1 in favor of Skyline, but they come up with the score there, and that was super impressive.
Do they give him the score there? They say he doesn't get in the end zone. They say he's resting on the inch line at the end of the first quarter, so it is still 6-0 Brighton. As
Head Outfitters is proud to introduce Trail Stars. They're a modern-day breadcrumb, only these breadcrumbs light up. They're bright, flashing LED lights that'll keep you and your family safe when it gets dark. Mark your car in a dark parking lot. Use as a safety flare. Mark a safe trail back to camp.
Trail Stars, a lighted, modern-day breadcrumb you can pick up at any Sportsman's Warehouse store or any other fine retailer.
You can even buy them online, www.trailstar.com or trailheadoutfittersllc.com.
All right, as we come back, you're watching Park City Television cover. We got the Skyline Eagles versus the Brighton Bengals, 6-0. Let me take this back. Brighton with the lead in the state championship game. I thought Skyline had got in on the last play of the first quarter, but apparently one umpire overruled the other one, and it's going to be second and goal from the
line judge called it off, but we were looking at the replays as we went to break there, and it was clearly a touchdown.
Yeah, I thought Johansson got in, but nonetheless, the refs had ruled it on the 1-inch line. Second down for Skyline. This time Marshall sends Toalili. Marshall's just going to plow in, and I'm waiting for a signal.
Let's take a look if he breaks the goal line here, and maybe a great reverse angle. It looks to me like Marshall's got it from that angle because of the second effort, but right on the goal line, and it's a touchdown. Skyline Eagles, let's see if they can convert.
Now they line up for the extra point. Roop 18 through. Skyline now takes the lead. I was a little leery of making the call there because the refs did not want to give us a signal again, but Skyline now drives 80 yards, touchdown, convert on 2 4th down pass, and chew up almost the entire first quarter offensively.
That's the key, converting on those 2 4th downs, and that was a surprise that they actually went for it under those circumstances, and now look how huge that extra point is. And I got to give a shout out here because this is like several times that I've seen Sam Walton, number 57, every time they get an extra point, this guy runs with his arms flinging in the air. The kid cracks me up.
Skyline very excited to take the lead here in a quarter that they dominated offensively. Brighton ran one offensive play. Granted, it did end up for a touchdown to Hicken.
Yeah, and not to mention the fact that look who's back deep, and we'll see whether or not the Skyline coaches take their own advice last week against Alta and see whether or not they kick it to Haig.
Do not kick to the Haig.
Nobody's in the skybox today saying kick it to Haig.
All right, Roop kicks it, and they do squib it, and that's going to be, I believe that's Jesse Taylor picks it up. One of the upbacks brings it across the 30.
I bet you Jesse Taylor is capable of taking one back.
You know, in the first game we did, as you look at the Brighton backfield, Jesse Taylor caught one short against Cottonwood, took it all the way back to the house for a touchdown.
That's right. Now, Matt Marietta is one of the best quarterbacks in the state. Of course, all-world Mike Haig in the backfield here, guys.
And there is Mike Haig. Cuts back across the field, breaking some tackles, and gets still breaking tackles across the 45. Haig for a gain of 16 on first down.
Mike Haig saying, you know, Skyline's got a pretty good ground game. Let me show you how we do it at Brighton. There's Boyette at 245 pounds and Cushing at 220 pounds. Guys, we have some of the biggest linemen in the state of Utah. Paseo Salt, and this guy is extremely talented, great footwork at 285, and Owsley is very talented as well at 270, and Nick Rucker,
200 pounds would have been big 15 years ago, but he is the smallest guy on that offensive line.
They swing the ball out to Haig.
Oh, wow.
Good gain again. It's all Haig right now, and now he's across midfield. 1st and 10 again for Brighton.
Well, how about the versatility of Thor here? This guy not only makes the first run, which was outstanding, then he catches the pass here, and that was after he's made a couple of outstanding defensive plays on that last Skyline drive.
And I'll tell you, once he gets his shoulders going north and south, he is a load. Brighton now 1st and 10, ball on the 44-yard line. Marietta under center. This time Marietta's going to keep it, follow Haig through the hole, and gets about 3 before Taylor Cedillo can tackle him.
Cedillo makes a nice tackle there. Let's take a look at these receivers. These are some of the most talented we've seen. Hamilton at 170 pounds, 6 foot, got some good height. And there's Grunander, he had a pick earlier in this game at 6'1". And then Sorensen, this guy gets lost in the shadows sometime, but he's very effective. And then Hicken at 6'2" is definitely the go-to guy for Marietta.
You know, Sorensen, the backup for Mike Haig, and obviously sometimes the other back in the backfield with Haig, this time split in the slot up to the right. Marietta, this time he hands to Haig around the right side on first stand. He gains about 4 yards.
And I like the way Haig is running right now. Now, we saw last week that these guys were as good as they get. Hautau at 280 pounds, Vaulu at 330 pounds, the transfer from Alta High School. And then Reggie Franco is somebody you cannot forget about. How many huge hits did he do last week? And then Moiaki, man, that guy is a stud.
2nd down now, and 7 yards to go. Marietta straight back to pass, got the screen underneath to Haig, I believe, again, all the way down to near the 30-yard line.
How do you like that pass? That was an amazing pass in traffic. Let's take a look at these Skyline defenders here, the linebacking crew at Shingleton at 180, and Cedillo, very talented guy, our defensive player of the game last week.
1st and 10 now from Marietta and the Bengals. They go double slot formation, spreading out Skyline a little bit. Haig single in the backfield, and they go right to Haig up the middle, and Moiaki, Vaulu, Franco, and Hautau. The whole defensive line is on him.
I don't care how strong Mike Haig is. How much collective weight was he just pushing against? 1,000 pounds?
Don't make me do the math, but let's just say a lot of weight.
Hey, take a look at Ben Marlowe, guys. His father, Steve Marlowe, also played on a state championship team, so it's not the only father-son combination playing for a state title this game.
Okay, this time fake to Haig up the middle. Marietta going up the sideline, and good coverage by Bradshaw. That was a nice job on the corner. Manned up on Hicken into the end zone.
Boy, was that phenomenal blanket coverage. And if you're going to place Brighton that way, I mean, if you're going to defend them, you got to play them with that sort of coverage.
2nd down and 10 from the 29. This time they had Haig split into the slot, and Haig lets one get away. How about that, Pat? They put Haig in the slot and ran him on the slant.
How about him actually dropping this pass? That's the first mistake I believe I've seen Haig make throughout the entire playoffs. Should have been caught, and he would have been gone for a touchdown for sure, and he drops the pass. He's human, Link.
He is human. As you can see, some of the rest of the kicker for Brighton, who's lined up for a 46-yard field goal, and that's good, Pat. Coleman Peterson for Brighton kicks a 46-yard field goal. Brighton now, as you check out the replay, and he got all of this, Pat.
Boy, Coleman Peterson is somebody that I would anticipate is definitely going to be kicking the next level. Should be pretty heavily recruited. He kicked a 56-yarder earlier this season against Alta, and there you go. That time he's not going to miss.
You know, he got doinked on the upright on the extra point, but there was no doink that time because Peterson gives Brighton the lead now 9-7. We're early in the second quarter here. Let's make sure we thank our sponsors, Pat. John Meekum Dodge Chrysler Jeep.
Absolutely, and John Meekum Dodge Chrysler Jeep with Trail Stars, another company he owns, if you guys, for your hunters out there. And then, of course, we've got the University of Utah Continuing Education, Wells Fargo Bank, Comcast. It's Comcast, and we couldn't bring this game to you without them.
Yes, and of course, McDonald's, a new sponsor a couple of weeks ago. When are we going to get a free Big Macs?
That's right. Well, you know what? They're practically free. Dollar value. Menu number 73 is
Jake Owsley, the starting offensive tackle for Brighton, getting carried off there. I don't know if that was an ankle injury or not, but that would be a big loss for Brighton.
He's played nonstop this whole season, and I know that, the line, I mean, he's definitely one of the anchors on that offensive line.
Coleman Peterson kicks off again, and it is out of the end zone, no return. Skyline will take over, trailing once again, now only by 2 points. And Skyline who had the ball the whole first quarter, did pretty much what they wanted offensively, Pat, except they had the one turnover.
Hey, the key here is penetration and close those gaps, plug the gaps, because otherwise Skyline's going to make you hurt.
This time, pass to Malisi underneath on the crossing route, across the 30, all the way up to the 37. Gain of 17 on first down.
Nice open field tackle by Jesse Taylor, but look at this execution, pardon me. Matt Marshall is definitely on fire right here. Melissa, the sophomore, folks, man, is he dangerous. I don't know, something about this guy makes it look like he could break at any moment.
At any time, he's like a blur coming across the field, and Marshall hits him for the gain of 17 now. 1st and 10, they hand off to Toa Lili. Around the left side, he cuts back. He's across the 50 and still going deep into Brighton territory down to the 35.
Wow, and without, this is pretty impressive because they pick up right where they left off at the last drive. This running game is firing on all cylinders because these backs are very, very special, but they're not going anywhere without that huge offensive line, and they're taking care of the line of scrimmage.
And I'll tell you, Johansson with a nice double-team block with Molisi on the outside, so obviously these running backs will block for each other. 1st and 10, Skyline. This time it's Molisi up the middle, and that time he's stacked up fairly well by the interior of the defense for Brighton. About 5 guys in there gang tackling Molisi.
Yeah, they got to plug those gaps because Skyline right now is running ramshot over the Bengals.
2nd down coming up. This time Marshall on the option. He pitches it to Toa Lili, who gets around the outside and then shows his power near the 20-yard line. Nice run by Toa.
God, how incredibly gifted are these running backs. Taylor, he is a senior, one of the only guys on a senior in this back. But Marshall, of course, and then you've got Molisi, and they are really scrambling the brains of this defensive coordinator.
Marshall just goes on a sneak up the middle. Interesting play right there. The ball's on the ground, but that was well blown dead. Marshall just on a sneak gain of only about 2. To check out the Brighton Skyline, they are holding on to a 2-point lead. We're about halfway through the second quarter. Skyline on another long drive here has the ball on the 19-yard line. Marshall fakes to Johansson. Now he fakes the pitch, and he's got some room cutting back. He's heading for the end zone. One guy to get around. Hicken drags him out at about the 2-yard line.
Boy, Hicken makes an outstanding tackle, but Marshall runs through a tackle at the line of scrimmage. We'll see who misses this. Marshall is definitely making it happen right now, guys, and I can't quite see the number on that, but he makes an outstanding play, and then if it's not for Hicken, Marshall's in the end zone.
Brunander and Hicken chasing him down, and finally Hicken gets him just short of the goal line down at the 2, but it's going to be 1st and goal for Skyline, knocking on the door again. This time Marshall keeps it himself in for the end to the end zone. Skyline on their 2nd offensive touchdown. Jumps out to the lead. I'm afraid to give the touchdown score because I can't see the refs, but they do now give it, and you see it on the replay. Marshall definitely in for the score. Skyline now back in the lead.
That is impossible to defend. How about the way Marshall rode Johansson all the way through the line of scrimmage? You don't know who you're tackling. The last possible second he pulls it through, finds just a little bit of daylight, and he takes it in himself.
Beautiful option play by the quarterback, Matt Marshall, trying to match his father and his brother's state titles. They go for 2 now.
That's right. His brother won one in '98.
Skyline going for 2. This is for the extra point. Marshall fakes me out. Marshall gets in, but there's a flag down on the play.
Yeah, it looks like it's coming from the back judge, so I'm curious if that's going to be a holding penalty against one of the linebackers. Yeah, it's going to be a holding against Skyline.
That's going to deny the 2-point conversion. Now it's going to be very difficult to go from 2 from 13 yards out. This time they are going to line up for the extra point. They're going to kick it. Roop. Marshall is the holder.
And it looks like they got Brighton to jump off sides.
They're going to get 5 back. Let's see now which way they go. Are they going to still go for 2, or are they just going to kick this, Pat?
Well, let's see where they line it up. I'm going to suggest that they're going to end up kicking
It'd be on the 5, so that'd be a 12-yard, well within Roop's range. But they're going to go for it from the 3, now from the 7.
I know, it's like split the difference. The way that looks like they're going to go for it.
They are actually going to kick the extra point. Like I said, Roop, Conrad Roop, Marshall the holder. The snapper is Daly, down, good, extra point, good.
Right through the uprights, and your Skyline Eagles are looking pretty impressive with this. Hey, it's stuck up there.
As they hang another score on the board. Skyline now into the lead, 14 tonight. They got a 5-point lead over Brighton with 5:40 to go in the second quarter. You know, it's gone back and forth. That's Brighton, Skyline, Brighton.
Yeah, I almost feel like running around the press box here like Walton with my hands crazy up in the air. Man, that guy cracks me up.
You got to be careful. You might poke my eye out. And there's the very dangerous Mike Haig. Skyline kicked away from him on the first one. Last week, he broke 2 big kickoff returns. He got 180 yards of kickoff returns on 2 kickoff returns, 1 for a touchdown. Root does. And they are going to kick to Mike Haig, who's going to catch this at about the 6-yard line, coming up the left side, and actually brought down nicely by Skyline. That's Malcolm Benton down for the tackle.
Yeah, and you know, Malcolm made an outstanding special teams tackle there, considering what we've seen Mike Haig do.
Yeah, last week, Mike Haig, 2 kickoff returns for 165 yards. That's an 82.5-yard average by kickers, and 1 touchdown.
And 1 touchdown, not to mention all the tackles.
This time, Marietta under center. Fakes to Haig, looking deep over the middle, looking for his receiver on the post pad, and that is incomplete. He was looking.
I'm thinking that's Matt Hamilton.
That's Hamilton. Actually, that looked like number 9, wasn't it?
I'm not sure. I think it was 8. I think it was Hamilton based on where he was coming out of.
Anyways, incomplete. Second down and 10. This time he hands off to Haig over the left side across the 30, jukes out Ben Marlowe, and then gets wrapped up at the 37-yard line.
Haig likes playing on this turf. You can tell that he's a power runner, but he's not afraid to make cuts.
I'll tell you, Haig likes playing on anything, because from what I've seen in the past, because this is probably the best guy, all-around athlete we've seen play all season long. We've seen a ton of it.
Yeah, not just this season, in all the seasons I've called high school football.
Time they go to Haig, huge hole up the middle, runs through the Salt, and he's going to score. He's got 1 guy to beat, and they are not going to catch him. Mike Haig on the 6-yard touchdown as he hobbles into the end zone, but nonetheless, Brighton now back in front.
Wow, that is interesting. Boy, does he make an outstanding touchdown, but let's see what happens to Haig. I wonder if he actually pulled his hamstring. We know that he's had high ankle sprain problems in the past. But let's see, I mean, it doesn't look like anybody's touched him at this point. Anybody died for the ankles? Boy, what an outstanding touchdown by Haig. I'm not sure what happened there, but he definitely comes up limping.
He does come up hobbled, but a huge hole by the offensive line right in the middle. Vaseo, Salt, and Cushing and Owsley open it. Obviously not Owsley since he's out, but whoever was in the middle replacing Owsley, he'll open a huge hole. And check out, Haig is untouched into the secondary and then just runs right up the seam. The only guy that even has a chance is Corrigan, and Haig outruns him.
Haig has been doing this all season long. Now he's over 30 touchdowns on the season, and nobody hits a hole faster than Mike Haig. I mean, it's like the second he gets in that secondary, he gets a bolt of lightning speed, and he is elusively fast.
You know, I mean, he's just like a bullet. He sees the hole and he shoots it through. Now Brighton going to go for 2. As Haig is the single setback, they've got a double tight end set this time. First time we've seen that today. Marietta fakes to Haig over the middle. He's rolling out, looking to pass. He's just going to run, and he's going to be in for the 2-point conversion. Matt Marietta on the
Outstanding
score.
Play by Matt Marietta. Let's take a look at here what happens to the linebackers. Looks like everybody bites on Haig, which they should do. And then Marietta, of course, shows his talent. And a lot of the times with this Brighton Bingham offense, a lot of people overlook Marietta, but we had a chance to see him in an incredible victory over Bingham High School earlier this season. Not to mention the first game of the season, but how incredibly has Marietta progressed this season?
Phenomenal since game 1 to now, and he now puts his team up by 3 points, 17-14. This has gone back and forth since the get-go, Patrick.
Yeah, what you'd want in a championship game.
Everything you want in a 5A. Like I said, these are the big boys. We saw the 4A earlier where Mountain Crest was Victoria over Highlands. Peterson kicks another one. Boy, that was through the uprights. They should get points for that.
You should get points for that. You know what's going to be interesting to me, though, is like this is 2 incredibly different teams. Brighton strikes so fast when they have it available. The opportunities are either off the turnover with the big pass to Hicken, of course, and then Haig with that big run, and Skyline grinding out the yardage and time of possession.
Skyline holding a huge edge in time of possession so far, although they are trailing by 3. They start once again from the 20. This time Johansson up the middle, up to the 25-yard line. Get a final. You know, Pat, every one of Skyline's drives have gone 80 yards. The 2 scores, 80-yard drives, and now they're going to have to do it again.
It's like Chinese water torture. If you're a defensive coordinator, because they get off the ball so fast and they're so powerful.
This time Marshall on the option. He's wrapped up. Sorensen does a nice job from his...
That's what you got to do. You got to make these open field tackles, and you got to get pressure on Marshall. That was an outstanding tackle. Fantastic tackle by Sorensen.
Sorensen in, as you see. Haig is actually out right now, taking a blow. So Sorensen in, laying the corner. They shifted around their defense as Marshall throws the pass, and that's picked up by Colby Barber, and he may score, Pat, to 10-5. Touchdown, huge interception by Barber, and now Brighton scores again right before half. Huge play.
2 turnovers, 2 touchdowns, and man, that was incredible. Marshall, as you know, does not throw all that often. He definitely felt like he was on fire earlier. No problems finding his receivers, but this time, maybe he just isn't seeing it downfield because Barber ends up right in the right place. Looks like the ball was thrown. It was thrown to him. I don't see a Skyline receiver in the vicinity, do you?
No, he must not have seen Barber dropping back from his linebacker position. And now Barber takes it in, and with the extra point pending, Brighton can jump out to a 10-point lead.
Dude, I think he had Toyavalo in his sights, and a nice extra point. Toyavalo was right in his sights, so maybe that's why he wasn't able to look behind him.
Yeah, and you know, Barber was actually playing on the line earlier, maybe some sort of zone blitz coverage, and he drops off into coverage, gets the pick, and now Skyline is trailing by 10 points. Brighton jumping up to 24. 3:09 to go in the quarter, and Pat, I mean, offensively, Skyline has had the ball almost the entire half, and they trail by 10 points.
Well, it's an interesting scenario because Brighton, if they can put up enough points on the board, then maybe that's going to make it impossible for Skyline to be able to make it back because they don't score points in a hurry, at least not against a good... I mean, Brighton, they scored like crazy in a hurry last week against West Jordan, but obviously Brighton's got a much better defense. But the point is, the one problem that I see with making these quick scores for Brighton is they got to leave their defense on the field to face the Skyline offense.
You know, that this defense has been on the field almost the entire first half. Under 3 minutes to go in the half. Skyline with the ball, trailing 1st and 10. This time a little misdirection as they go to Johansson up the middle for a gain of about 8 yards on 1st down.
And Johansson is becoming an impact player. It seems like every time he's touched the ball, he's averaging 5 yards per carry, if not more.
Injured early in the season, now back in and doing a nice job at the fullback position on this Skyline offense. This time the pitch is out to Molisi, who runs over Wood, but Wood in the backfield makes a nice tackle for a loss of 1.
Yeah, and once again, you see Jesse Taylor in on the stop, and Jesse Taylor, I think, is on attack. Look at that hit. But the crazy thing about that is the sophomore Molisi is just moving forward every time. I've never seen him go backwards.
This time Marshall grinds forward. He's going to have enough for the 1st down on that 3rd down and 1.
You see big number 79, Brian Malulu. Guys, take a look at that. I mean, that's between both of those defensive and offensive line, you're looking at kids that are 220, 240. Folks, he is 330 pounds.
330.
That's an NFL lineman.
That's an NFL lineman. This time Marshall was looking to pass, tucks it under, and gets across the 30 to the 32-yard line.
And I don't know if you've noticed, but I think he's got some family members sitting on the Skyline sidelines because I saw some big boys on the Skyline sideline.
2nd down for Skyline. 2nd down and 8 coming up. This time the single setback is Johansson. They run Molisi in motion, then hand off. This time stacked up by the interior of the defense. Layman Toyavao on the tackle.
Yeah, his time's running out here in the 2nd quarter. It's amazing to me. Timeout by Brighton, it looks like, because they're going to try to get the ball back. But that's the first time we've seen in this entire game a really positive front line, domination by Brighton.
You know, the line of scrimmage has been dominated offensively by Skyline so far. They're just grinding out a lot of yardage, controlling the clock. But, you know, for all the good it's done because they're down by 10 points.
Yeah, and it looks like our friend Mark Harmson's getting kind of buddy-buddy with the Brighton Bengal mascot down there.
Fighting up with a Bengal. Mark Harmson on the sideline giving us all sorts of action. We'll get back to Mark sometime during the game, I'm sure. This time Marshall looks like he's trying to set up a screen to Toalili out on the right side, runs right by his blocker, not waiting, and then breaks a tackle across the 50, still going all the way. Great run by Toalili.
Wow, does he follow his blocks well? And there was a great surge by this Skyline team to get downfield in front of Toalili. And I love this screen pass because this is so effective when you got a burner like Toalili. And look at this, he reads his blocks perfectly, gets down, finds the flow, has got a great feel for the flow of the action right there, and makes a great move on number 20, it looks like, for the Brighton Bengals. Runs out of a tackle and then just, gives himself another, 15 yards after the fact?
Yeah, he ran right by his blocker. Carlson's like, I'm not waiting for you, brother. I'm just going down. And a first down for Skyline now. This time Marshall looking to pass, going deep on the corner, had a man open. He had Daly open, but just shoots it out of bounds.
Yeah, Hicken was on the coverage and looked like he was there, but definitely not the best pass we've seen Marshall throw.
Yeah, and I believe it, and like I said, he had Daly open. If he would have thrown that out to the corner, would have been touchdown Skyline, but falls incomplete. Second down and 10. We're coming up to the end of the first half here. This time they go to Johansson up the middle. Very little gain.
Yeah, and as we wind down here in the first half, 2 turnovers by Skyline equate to 2 touchdowns by the Brighton Bengals.
Third down coming up. This time Marshall back to pass again, throwing over the middle. Oh, and it's knocked away. Beautiful play by Grunander.
Grunander, the guy who had that first interception, almost comes up with another pick, and maybe thinking he should have had that because I didn't see him coming.
Yeah.
It looked like that was going to be a touchdown.
Grunander comes out of nowhere from a safety position. I tell you, I bet you they thought Cameron Taylor was open over the middle. Marshall saw him, and then Grunander at the last minute knocks it away.
Yeah, we're seeing some dropbacks here by Marshall in this situation. Fourth down. Let's see what Skyline's going to do.
Fourth down, and Skyline's going to go for it. Too far for a field goal. This time Marshall back to pass, going back to the same play, and he had Taylor open, and this time Taylor just drops the ball.
Boy, Taylor almost doing the exact same thing that Haig did earlier. He just was right in his hands. That was a perfectly pass.
They go right back to the same play of fourth down, and they just make a little adjustment, throw it underneath the safety. And I'll tell you, Cameron Taylor was open, and Marshall put it on the money, but not able to come up with it. Now Brighton with the ball. There's very little time left. I wonder if they'll. What do you think, Brighton? Will they even take a chance here, or just run the ball? Looks like Marietta is gonna kneel on it. And then a quarter where Skyline had the ball, 17 and a half minutes to 4 and a half for Brighton. Brighton with the 10-point lead. And Pat, Skyline's got to be shaking their heads right now.
And I think Coach Tom Cushing's got to figure out a way to get this Skyline offense off the field.
Well, we'll find out because it's halftime. Brighton in the lead, 24-14 over Skyline. Stay tuned, halftime's coming up.
Park City Television's broadcast of the Game of the Week is proudly brought to you by Wells Fargo Bank, the University of Utah, continuing education at the U, classes for all ages. John Meekum Dodge Chrysler Jeep. The Truth. Want to help tackle your tobacco addiction? Call 888-567-TRUTH. Trail Stars, never get lost again. And Comcast. Catch your favorite high school game on demand. Hey, welcome back to our halftime report. This is Steve Spencer, and it's our pleasure to introduce Steve Spencer, who is the high school coordinator for Comcast. And Steve, why don't we start with why is Comcast so committed to high school sports?
Well, Comcast is committed to Utah. We're very interested in making sure that people find out that Comcast is the place to come for local high school sports and all sorts of other local on-demand programming. And high school sports is something that we know a lot of people are interested in. They really root for their teams here in Utah, and so Comcast wants to make sure that they can watch those teams whenever they want to, on demand or on Channel 3 or Channel 60.
Now, can you answer, is this unique in the country, this sort of dedication to high school athletics?
The Comcast in Utah is one of the at the forefront of getting high school sports on Comcast On Demand and on Comcast cable channels. There are other Comcast markets, other cable markets, other pay TV companies across the country who are starting to do a little bit, but we've got 50 different games from the football season. We'll have 50 or maybe more games from the basketball season. We'll be covering wrestling and baseball coming up this year, and we're just doing a lot to make sure that people in Utah can watch their games and their their schools on Comcast.
Well, you guys have done an extraordinary job today. Anybody who is here at Rice Eccles Stadium can look up on the Jumbotron and see this magnificent broadcast that your cameras are bringing here live. Talk to us about how that came to be.
Well, we've pulled that together pretty fast. We want to show that Comcast is here to adapt to what people in Utah are interested in watching. And one of the ways that we adapted this time was we saw that the Jumbotron wasn't in use during the semifinals last week. So we pulled our crew together. We made sure that we had what we needed to put it on the Jumbotron so people here in the stadium could see the replays and the action of what's going on. And that's what's really unique to Comcast, is that we're going out to the communities, we're going into different schools and making sure that those schools are covered, that we see the fans, we see the students who are athletes, we see the students who are in the band and who are in the crowd, and they can see themselves on their own cable channel, on Channel 3 or Channel 16. Across the Comcast area of Utah, they can see action from many different schools, and so that's one of the ways that we're showing that adaptation.
Well, it was exciting this season. People come up to us all the time and thank us, Park City Television, for covering high school football, and I say it's Comcast.
Well, we're thrilled to have Park City TV on Comcast. Thrilled to partner with Park City TV and our other broadcast partners and production partners to get those games on. We couldn't do it without the high school students themselves who are producing these games, who have learned a lot from professionals like you and other professionals to get these games on the air, and they're learning a lot about how to produce games and different things like that. So we're just thrilled with the progress that they've made, and from the high school level all the way up to the professional level, we're just getting those games on there so people can see them.
Well, basketball season will be coming up next, but folks, it's definitely Comcastic high school sports on Comcast Cable. We'll be back with more high school action right after these messages.
Dish Network and DirecTV guys are seeing more downtime than ever. Now that a year of digital cable is only $30 a month. Dish customers got the message. Only Comcast has the cutting-edge features, like thousands of free national and local shows on demand to watch whenever you want. Cable and local channels in HDTV, plus free installation on up to 4 TVs. Dump your Dish for the year's coolest offer. Digital cable only $30 a month for 12 months.
Welcome back. It's halftime here at the 5A final championship game, and right now Brighton is on top 24-14, Pat, and Brighton so far has made all the big plays.
Once again, Mike Hague. Mike Hague, come on, man. This guy is just unbelievable. He's the biggest impact player in the state by far this year. In the 6 years that I've called high school football, which isn't a long time compared to some announcers, but I promise you I have not seen somebody who can do it on both sides of the ball like Hague has. But how about those long, grinded-out drives by Skyline?
Well, Skyline's had the ball for 17 and a half minutes compared to 4.5 for Brighton, but Brighton's up by 10 points, so ball control obviously hasn't taken any effect so far on Brighton.
Well, yes and no. It might be more points on the board had they not had the ball as long as they had for Skyline. I mean, Brighton can hit you quick. Obviously, Hicken had that beautiful touchdown pass, and then Hague, that huge break-open run, not to mention the fact turnovers have been so just disastrous for any team that gets to this level. The 2 turnovers in the first half are big scores for Brighton.
And we talked about how turnovers will be magnified in a game like this, and Brighton's made a couple of turnovers. The interception for the touchdown right before half, huge play by Colby Barber.
Boy, Colby Barber came up with the big one, and that's going to be the difference in this first half. You know what's impressive to me by Skyline, for Skyline, is Moisi, once again, this sophomore, just killing it. And then Teo Li'i has been having a very good half for Skyline.
Skyline's offense has actually been fairly dominant. Like I said, they've controlled the ball for 17 and a half minutes, and they've put up 14 points. However, the turnovers is the thing that's killing them. I'm curious to see how this will play out in the second half, because, like I said, maybe that's going to wear down Brighton.
Maybe it is, because they've definitely got an advantage in terms of size, and let's just see how well they're conditioned and to go into this fourth quarter. But what's going to happen is they just cannot turn that ball over.
No, and if you notice, Mike Hague was taking a couple of blows on defense for the last couple of series. He was taking a break, and they also lost one of their starting offensive linemen, Jake Owsley, who walked off with what looks like an ankle injury. He won't be back.
Yeah, the 270-pounder is a huge force to be reckoned with on that offensive line, and that's definitely going to pay dividends for Skyline. But you're right. The big question is whether or not Hague is going to be 100% in the second half.
Well, we'll find out if they start getting worn on, or if Brighton can still come up with the big plays and come up with a big win here. Brighton 24-14 at halftime.
This is the Alta Secondary, and you're watching Park City Television.
Welcome back. It's halftime, and it's always tradition that the 5A state championship game, we have the mascots here, the Brighton Bengal and the Skyline Eagle. And of course, like I said, it's tradition that they arm wrestle here, and that's actually how we like to predict the outcome of the game. So the winner of this will determine who will win the football game and who will come out victorious in the second half. So you guys ready? Here we go. Let's make sure we got a firm grip here. No cheating. On your marks, get set, go. And it looks close with a slight advantage to the Eagle. He's actually elected to use his gloves. Oh, we have a victory by Skyline, which must mean that the Eagles are poised and prone to come back in this second half. Guys, I don't know about that, but if the tradition holds, then it's not going to lie. Oh, signing off.
Morning, folks. Wow, nice Jeep. How do you like it?
Oh, we just love it.
Yep, best 4x4 made.
I see you got it from John Meekum. Did you get a good deal?
Oh, a great deal. And the service department is why you buy at John Meekum.
Plus, we got 4 free tires.
I heard about that. Okay, you guys buckle up and enjoy your new Jeep.
Hunting for a great Jeep deal? You will find it at John Meekum Chrysler Plymouth Jeep. Oh, dear.
Welcome back to Rice-Eccles Stadium, where it's halftime here, the 5A state championship game, where Skyline and Brighton are battling it out. And right now, Brighton with the lead, 24-14 going into half. And I'll tell you, Pat, it's a half that was dominated by Skyline's offense on the ground, but on the scoreboard, Brighton in the lead.
Yeah, let's give a quick shout out to Colby Barber, who is one of the all-state academic team out there, obviously just excelling at both athletics and education, which is very, very impressive. Now, of course, coming back from halftime, what do you think about the mascot arm wrestling match?
How about Harpsy getting the two mascots to get down and dirty with the wrestling match, arm wrestling, and I'll tell you, Skyline, that could be the turning point, Pat. Well, the Eagle takes down the Bengal.
I hate to say this, but it felt like some of those excruciating drives, it was just long and drawn out, but just it worked for Skyline, and Skyline won that one. We'll see what happens. Coming back, I'm sure Tom Cushing tells his players, look, we have absolutely got to stop this offense by Skyline. And how do you do it? I'm not quite sure, because I'll tell you, Marshall is really operating on all cylinders again, because with the help of Jacobson, of course, Te'oli'i, and Molisi, those guys have been all over the place.
Yeah, Johansson, Te'oli'i, and Molisi, let's look at the averages, okay? These guys all have almost 500 yards. Te'oli'i, 716 yards on the season, 8.7 yards a carry. Molisi, 6 yards a carry, and Johansson averaging 9 yards per carry, not even to mention Marshall, who gets 6.5 per carry.
Yeah, and he got some great passes there, obviously, in the first half. How big is Jacobson to this offense? Johansson. How big is Johansson to this offense?
Come on, it's a guy that averages 9 yards a carry. Okay, and he's been, behind that big offensive line, really, setting the tone for the rest of the guys on the outside, making Brighton be conscious of the middle, because they can't let him get in the middle, and then Te'oli'i and Molisi running wild around the corner.
Yeah, averaging 9 yards per carry is impressive for a fullback. I bet the only other fullback in the state who's got those sort of numbers are Mike Haig, and then Marshall when he gets going, man, and he has that big offensive line to operate and hide behind. He is so dangerous in the secondary.
But the fact is, Brighton has made the big play, okay? The big run by Haig, and then the huge pass on the first play from scrimmage to Hicken, gets them out into the lead. Now the thing is, can they hold on? Because it looks like, I hate to say it, but it looks like they're wearing down, Pat.
Well, and the big question for me is, how healthy is Haig? We know that Haig had to go through Bingham, then go through Alta, and he hasn't been 100%. He had problems going back to last year with the high ankle sprain, and if he's not 100% in this game, I don't know what kind of impact that's going to have, but if you're Brighton, you got to be worried about that.
And it brings the pressure squarely on the shoulders of Matt Marietta, who's going to have to, do some things offensively. They're going to have to pass like they did to Hicken, hit some and Grunander on the outside. The fact is, Skyline has some smaller defensive backs. Maybe the weak part of that defense, Brighton's going to have to take advantage of it.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. And also, Skyline has to minimize turnovers. I'm sure that Dupay was all over that at halftime. Guys, the only points that are on this guy on the side of Brighton, of course, came from our turnovers.
Yeah, the fact is the 2 turnovers really hurt Skyline, okay, and gave Brighton the opportunity to score. Okay, the first one came on the pitch pass, option pass, and they had driven all the way down to the 30, so they'd already driven from the 20 to the 30, and then they turned the ball over. Brighton goes down and scores.
Well, and let's talk about the pressure once again being solely on the shoulders, I think, of Brighton. I think you're correct in that assumption because Brighton comes in, only 1 loss on the season to Alta. They get that victory last week in the semifinal matchup. Skyline, if there was ever a time that they come under the radar, it's this time with 5 losses on the season, even though they had that outstanding victory against Bradenton, Florida earlier in this year, which is impressive, a Utah team being a Florida team.
And Brighton has beat this team once already by 5 points early in the season, 30-25. And Brighton, there's one blemish on Brighton's roster, on Brighton's record, and Brighton knows how to win. A team that comes in here and just gets the job done week after week. And right now at halftime, even though Skyline's offense is dominated, Brighton getting the job done on the scoreboard.
Yeah, you're not kidding. And if you look at the 2 paths that they had to take to get to the state final championship, not to say that Skyline, come on, Hunter was fantastic, Lone Peak's very good, and West Jordan was very good. Bingham, I thought, was a very tough contest, and man, that was a knockdown slugfest against Alta last week for Brighton.
Well, we'll see what happens here because the second half is about to start. You're watching Park City Television's coverage of the 5A state championship game. Skyline trailing 24-14 is going to kick off to Brighton to start the second half. Conrad Roop teeing it up. And the dangerous Mike Haig, who is now back in the game, with Sorensen deep for Brighton. And here we go. The kick is away. They kick it low. And that's going to be fielded by Chris Train, who barely gets it back to the 20-yard line.
Boy, a nice tackle there by the special teams of Skyline. And the Bengals start off on their own 21-yard line.
This time Haig, they go with that double slot. This time Haig, the only setback. Marietta coming down option, pitches to Haig, who looks like he's going to cut back, runs through Franco, gets a block from Marietta. Now he's across the 20 and all the way up to the 29 before he can be brought down by Corrigan, but a nice cutback by Mike Haig.
Well, and I think if anybody was worried about how Haig could cut with that high ankle sprain that it looks like he had a problem with, it doesn't look like he's got a problem coming out at halftime. Outstanding run by Haig, just switching direction here and running through that tackle by Franco.
And how about Marietta putting a block on Houghton? That's a size disadvantage, but the quarterback doing a nice job, who sneaks forward for the first down and gets about 6 yards on just a plain quarterback sneak.
Yeah, and Marietta is very talented with the run. We saw him get that 2-point conversion in the second quarter.
1st and 10. We've just started the second half of this 5A state championship game. You're watching Park City Television. And Brighton with the ball on the 36. 1st and 10. Haig right up the middle. No gain at all. That's Cedillo underneath.
Yeah, look, Cedillo and a whole host of Eagles, and that is exactly how they picked up where they left off in the first half. Very difficult to run against this interior defensive line.
You see all 4 of them. The defensive line rather tight now. Moyaki splits out a little bit. This time it's a reverse to Haig across the 40. Hops over one guy and a good gain over the 45 down to the 43.
Nice tackle by Shingleton there for Skyline. It looked like Haig got his knee to the helmet there. Great reverse, and he has definitely not lost a step coming here in the first part of the second half.
You saw him take a blow. He limped off after that long touchdown round, then took a blow on defense, but he's back in and running at full speed right now. 1st and 10 from the 46. This time Marietta's going to pass. Got pressure, and he's hit. He's leveled. I believe that's Moyaki coming in and punishing Marietta.
Boy, that looked like a great penetration by Moyaki. Didn't even see exactly where he came from, but he got the pressure on Marietta and put him down.
Vaulo and Moyaki do a little stunt on the inside. Vaulo goes to the outside. Moyaki loops in, and he just crushes Marietta. 2nd down coming up. This time, play action to Haig. He's looking deep over the middle, and he's got his receiver. That's Sorensen cutting across the middle. Bounces off one tackler, and he's all the way inside the 20. Nice completion to Sorensen.
Wow, and what a great delivery to Sorensen here. Great setup and great timing pattern, but you got to attribute that to the offensive line. There was not much pressure on Marietta that time.
And he makes this throw right on the money to Sorensen, who came in from the slot, cut across the middle, and a 1st and 10 inside the 20 for Brighton. This time he goes to Haig, who runs through one tackle. A flag comes in. That's probably going to be a holding.
Yeah, looks like it was a holding on number 52 against Brian Vaulu. Number 52 for the Brighton Bengals is Jim Cushing.
It's going to bring him back 10 yards. It's going to bring up 1st down and 20 now for Brighton. Brighton making a nice drive to start the second half, Pat.
Yeah, control of the clock is extremely important right now for the Bengals.
Yeah, their defense spent the whole first half on the field. Now it's Brighton's turn to hold the ball for a little bit, but they've got a 1st and 20, and Marietta got a man open. Oh, beautifully defended by Hanks. He was going for Haig up the seam, and Hanks, the free safety, breaks it up.
Great coverage. Marietta throws into double coverage, and you're right, man. Without that incredible deflection there, Haig's into the end zone.
Tom Cushing says Hamilton in with the play on this 2nd down and 20 yards to go. This time they hand off to Haig, who does a beautiful spin move. Barely gets back to the line of scrimmage where Cedillo wraps him up, but how about that spin move in the backfield?
Yeah, not to mention Cedillo and Franco in on the tackle, and that's why he gets a couple of yards. But once again, take a look at Haig limping.
Yeah, maybe that spin move took a little. Have you seen the victorious Skyline arm wrestling champion on the sideline? The Eagle. How about the Bengal Tiger walking away with his tail between his legs?
Not too happy about that, man. That was definitely a little bit too much of a metaphor for me.
Big 3rd down play coming up from Matt Marietta and the Bengals. He's got Haig off to his right. Straight snap, direct snap to Haig, who now looks like he's going to run, and he's going to be stopped by Vaulu behind the line of scrimmage. Skyline's defense holds on 3rd and long.
Yeah, take a look at Haig coming up limping, not to mention the fact that Vaulu catches him from behind, and that definitely does not feel good to have him fall on your ankle.
This sets up a long field goal by Coleman Peterson from 48 yards. We know from in the past that this is well within his range. Good snap, good hold by Marietta, and
got it. Oh,
just wide to the left on the 48-yard attempt. Brighton stalls on the drive to start the second half.
Wow, from this angle, it looked like he had just enough distance, but it just squeaks to the left there at the last second and gets pulled.
48-yarder is wide, no good by Peterson. Now Skyline takes over on the 20. This time Marshall on the option, grinds forward, gain of almost 6 yards.
Picking up right where they left off, and that was, a disastrous sequence for Brighton, leaving the ball with not bad field position, really right here for the Eagles, coming away with not giving up points on the board.
Well, in high school, they don't mark it from where they kick. They get to go back to the 20, but they get 5 yards on 1st down. Then they go to Johansson up the middle, and he is wrapped up this time by the Brighton defense. That's number 58. That's Barber. The guy with a big pick in the first half, Kobe Barber, getting a lot of play. We didn't see him too much last week on defense.
No, we certainly didn't.
3rd down and about a little less than 2 yards to come up for Skyline. Malisi in motion. This time it's Johansson. Huge hole. He's got the 1st down and much more.
Oh, you said earlier that he's averaging 9 yards per carry, and once again, Johansson hits that hole so hard and he runs. And again, I think that's a gain of about 12 yards for Skyline, and it's just almost impossible. Look at that hole. You could drive a truck through that hole. Great blocking downfield. Looks like number 21.
That's Teoa Alili doing a great job blocking for Johansson. And this time it's Johansson once again, but Teoa Alili does a nice job sealing down the inside, freeing Johansson for a big gain, and then he gets another one on that 1st down carry. I tell you, this offensive line and the backs, the whole squad doing a great job blocking so far in this game. And I'll tell you, Skyline going right back to where they left the first half, grinding out yardage on offense. This time Johansson stumbles forward across the 50.
Yeah, that's right. Past midfield here for the first time in the second half. And if you want to be peaking, you may as well do it in the state championship game. Hey, let's thank our sponsor, John Meekum Dodge Chrysler Jeep.
Trail Stars, Comcast, McDonald's, the
Wells Fargo Bank, University of Utah Continuing Education.
Thank you, Pat. Now back to action as Johansson rumbles down again and runs over a few defenders and before Wood can make the tackle.
Johansson is impressing me right now because he has got this Bengal defense on their heels. He is running downfield, and every time he's getting into the secondary.
2nd down and 1, gets his average 9 yards on 1st down. This time Marshall fakes to Johansson, keeps it himself, turns the corner, and he's down around the 30.
Marshall again running through a tackle, and these Bengals have got to do a better job of wrapping up to have a chance at stopping Marshall.
And now I believe there might be a late hit call on this because you see Jesse Taylor on the outside and then Wood, kind of a close call.
Kind of. That looked really questionable to me. I'm not sure if that's where it was.
No call on that. Now 1st and 10 from the 30, and they go right back to Johansson, and that's 9 yards.
Yeah, and that's indicative. Once again, you see this outside linebacker, 42, try to square. I mean, he's not squaring up. I mean, we're seeing side tackles here, arm tackles. Nobody's getting low enough, and Johansson is just, I mean, he's on fire here earlier in the 3rd quarter.
You know, how nice is it for your offense to have 2nd and 1 almost on every series? And this time it's Malisi who grinds out forward for the 1st down all the way down to the 15.
Every person that gets their hand on the ball here for Skyline is dangerous.
You know, Malisi, just a sophomore, a very powerful runner. He's listed at 5'7", 180, but he runs much stronger, and so does this guy. Is that Teo Alili? He's cutting across. He's going to score, Pat. Teo Alili for the touchdown. Skyline on the board in the 2nd half.
That was an outstanding run. Teo Lee is on fire. Every single time he gets the ball, he makes big impact runs. Maybe Johansson right now has definitely more yardage on the ground, but every time Teo Lee gets his ball, he's running through tackles, and I'm not quite sure what's going on with this Brighton defense, but they're starting to look like they're worn down.
16-yard run by Teo Alili, who makes a nice cutback and then retains his balance and gets into the end zone. I'll tell you about, you know what's going on with the Brighton defense. It's this offensive line really starting to make itself, wearing down that Brighton defense.
It's a power game for sure. This time that's going to be pulled left.
Roop pulls the extra points. You see, good hold, good snap. That one's just missed by Roop. But I'll tell you, Pat, this offense for Skyline, who actually had the ball 17 and a half minutes in the 1st half, okay, had Brighton's defense on the field almost the entire 1st half, comes right out and makes a long ball control drive, 80 yards again for the score.
Yeah, what do we see happen here? We see Mike Haig with an injury. We see a couple of mistakes, a couple overthrown balls, then the missed field goal attempt, and then Skyline takes control of this, and everybody's getting their hands on the ball. And I think you got to credit Johansson behind that big offensive line as being the key to that drive.
Yeah, just grinding it out down the field. Same thing he did in the 1st half. And, you know, you would think Skyline's got this game, is ahead in this game, but Brighton's still up by 4 points. But I'll tell you, there's cracks in the armor for the Brighton Bengals right now. Their offense will definitely need to establish itself on this drive here because Skyline has got all the momentum. Here comes the kick. This time deep, and that is going to be Haig, who fakes the reverse. This is a play that worked great last week against... Oh, and Haig is down, holding his calf or his ankle. That's the same play that Brighton ran twice last week in the game against Alton and run for a touchdown and 2 big runs. This time, Skyline defends it, and more problems for Brighton because it looks like Haig is going to have to be helped off the field.
This is a serious injury. This is disastrous for the Brighton Bengals. You know, and I was watching him with that ball, and they did not look like he had the explosive speed that we've seen several times when he returns these kickoffs. He makes the cut, and you can't tell right there, but he gets taken down. But when he comes up, he grabs his ankle right away. And look at this, guys. This is amazing. Here on the field, as you can see on your monitors, this replay, Mike Haig does not want to be helped off the field. He wants to get himself off this field on his own power.
And a nice play by the Skyline special teams, and Ben Bradshaw with a nice tackle on Mike Haig. A play that blew up Alta last week, cost them 2 scores. Okay,
we're going to fight that off.
There's no quitting Mike Haig.
Yeah.
You know, such a superior athlete. Look at him running off. And I'll
he's
tell
a
you,
warrior.
Listen to the Bengals side of the field go wild over there.
Yeah, boy, but still, you know he's hurt, man. That was like I'm in the 5A state championship as we see him limp towards he's trying to shrug that off, but he's hurt.
You know, Mike Haig destined for BYU. He is definitely signed and is going to go to BYU next year, but he's more concerned about this game right now. His Brighton Bengals holding on to a 4-point lead here in the third quarter. And actually, that's Hannah in the backfield for Haig. And this time, the pass, they were looking for, I believe that was Grunander over the left side, pass incomplete.
It's going to see how, without Haig in this, how this is going to make the big adjustment for Brighton and what they do with it. Obviously, Marietta is a very capable passer. Looks like right away they need to go to the pass.
Mike Hannah had just a sophomore's replacement in the backfield. It's time to fake to Hannah, and pressure coming in. Marlowe and Franco sack Marietta back at the 10.
Wow. This is a very big turn of events.
And you can see the Skyline defense senses blood. Haig out of the game, coming after Marietta. Check out Ben Marlowe, first one to get there, and then Franco buries him.
Huge. Brings up third down and long.
Third down and very long. Ball rests on the 12-yard line. Marietta under center. This time going to roll to his left. Under pressure. Gets around Vaulu. Throws it on the run. Picked off by penalty, but he's out of bounds.
Wow, yeah, he pulls off that interception, but 3 plays in a row. Skyline has absolutely dominated this series.
Penley does come up with a pick, but he was out of bounds. But nonetheless, it's going to force Brighton to punt. And I'll tell you, Peterson's probably going to have to punt from his own end zone on this 4th down, 2 yards into the end zone. See if Skyline comes after this or they set up the return. They're coming after it, gets it away. Bounces. Ben Marlowe's going to pick it up on the bounce. Cuts back, getting close to the 50-yard line where Skyline will take over with outstanding field position.
Outstanding field position considering the fact that they have been unstoppable on offense for the last quarter and a half.
You know, they've gone 80 yards on 3 drives. Now they only have to go 50. Actually, they got to go 49 because Marlowe did get it across the 50. And now I'll call this the 4-headed monster because Marshall, the lead man of this rushing attack for Skyline, takes it up for about 5 yards.
Yeah, that is the great call out right there. The 4-headed monster for sure, man. You don't know where this ball is going to go, and whoever has it, unless you get tripped up in the backfield by your own guy.
By your own. It's the only way to stop Johansson. That's going to mess with his average. That's not 9 yards.
Yeah, what is he going to do?
It's going to bring up a 3rd down. This is a crucial play for Brighton's defense, who's been on the field most of the game. Skyline done whatever they wanted. 3rd down coming up. Tight end to the right. This time Marshall is going to pitch it. He's hit by Hicken. He pitches it to Teo Lilly, and the Brighton's defense stiffens. And Grunander with the tackle, but a great play by Brighton.
Yeah, and great, outstanding series here. Look at Hicken on that, and it almost looked like a forward lateral from back here. And Teo Lilly, that's one of the first times we've seen him get dropped for a loss, and now Skyline forced to punt.
That was a really nice job by Sorensen, Grunander, and Snow doing a great job on the pitch. And all start off with Hicken forcing Marietta deep into the backfield.
And check out the claw here in the quarter. I mean, the second half, these guys are sensing making things happen because what are you going to do? The end of the third quarter.
That is the end of the third quarter. Fourth quarter coming up. Skyline trailing Brighton by 4 points.
Park City Television's broadcast of the Game of the Week is proudly brought to you by Wells Fargo Bank, the University of Utah, continuing education at the U, classes for all ages. John Meekum Dodge Chrysler Jeep. The Truth. Want to help tackle your tobacco addiction? Call 888-567-TRUTH. Trail Stars, never get lost again. And Comcast. Catch your favorite high school game on demand.
Welcome back to Rice Eccles, home of the Utes, as you're watching the Skyline Eagles take on the Brighton Bengals for the 5A state championship game. And now Brighton with the 24-20 lead. But they have just held Skyline, who is about to punt. Let's go down to Mark Harmson, Arm Reporter.
All right, well, on that last Brighton kickoff return, Mike Haig went down with a severe sprained ankle. He's had problems with it all along, but it looks like he'll return back in the fourth quarter. That's something to pay attention to, is earlier this season, or at the beginning of the playoffs, the Skyline Eagles decided to take Matt Marshall off of the defensive side. Now, we know that Mike Haig plays both sides, so we'll see if that will pay dividends for the Eagles, having rested up Matt Marshall like that.
And I'll tell you, on the Brighton side, thanks, Mark, on this. Mark Harmson, since he's doing arm wrestling now, too. But I'll tell you, a big sigh of relief came over, when they saw Haig run off the field. But the fact is, he did not play that series on defense. We'll see if he comes back in on offense as Skyline lines up the punt to start the fourth quarter. Going to kick from about the 46-yard line. Good snap. The kick is away. It's a good kick. Fair catch. Call for by Grunander, and he drops the ball. The ball's on the ground. Let's see. I believe Skyline's got that. And it is Daly, Mike Daly comes up with the ball for Skyline. A huge turnover to start out the fourth quarter.
Well, the sure-handed Grunander just gives up the biggest turnover of this season for the Brighton Bengals deep within the red zone. I mean, take a look at what happens. There's definitely some sun that he may have looked into, but I don't know if he heard footsteps. It looks like he calls a fair catch here, but it just goes right through his hands. Skyline Eagles get the huge turnover, and that's the first turnover for the Brighton Bengals. Of course, Skyline gave up those first two in the first half, but this one will have disastrous consequences if the way we've seen this offense of Skyline produce.
Mike Daly, the long snapper, first one down to recover the fumble and give Skyline a first and goal from the 9, and they go to Johansson, who usually gets 9 yards, but this time he only gets about 5.
Yeah, only gets about 5, though, with everybody stacking on top of him. But, like we've seen all game, there is a whole host of Eagles that can carry this ball.
Second and goal from the 4. Right back to Johansson, who grinds up. He's very near the goal line. Just short.
He's got his average now on those two plays, 9 between the two of them, taking it right to the 1-yard line.
And I'll tell you, third down and goal. Skyline knocking on the door, trying to get back into the lead. They trail by 4 points as Coach Dupay sends the play in on this third.
Oh, looks like a penalty.
There's a penalty on that play. Brings it back. It's now second down from the 9-yard line. They hand off to Teo Alili, who gets it back down near the 1 again after that penalty. It looks like Skyline was offsides, brought it back. Now it's going to be third and goal from the 2-yard line.
Yeah, interesting call here. Do you go with the power game with Johansson, or do you fake it? Marshall can certainly follow the dive very effectively. He has this afternoon.
They've got the tight end Taylor out to the left, but they go right up to Johansson. He's going to be short. It's going to bring up fourth and goal from about the 1-yard line. Decision time for Roger Dupay and the Eagles.
We saw Dupay go for it in the first half, and as we see fourth down, looks like they're lining up to go for it, Link.
And you're absolutely right. They've got the full house backfield, and this time Marshall going to come down the line option. He pitches it to Malisi, who's going to make the corner. Skyline and Kalama Malisi get in the end zone and take the lead over Brighton.
Wow, what a huge call here by Dupay in Skyline. They go to Malisi, and Malisi just gets the corner with that speed and runs right out of the arms of Jimmy Wood. Take a look at here, Matt Marshall going right down. Looks like they've got, interesting pitch with the right hand, no less. And then Malisi just gets the corner of the end zone and runs in, and that was a huge fourth down conversion for the touchdown.
Now it looks like they're going to go for 2 because they are actually up. A timeout being called because Brighton was not expecting them to go for 2 here. But Skyline on that play, that's the third conversion on fourth down they've made today, and none bigger getting in the end zone with Malisi.
Yeah, right off of the turnover. Unbelievable turnover by Grunander. He would not expect, under the circumstances, to turn that ball over on the punt.
Now they can line up for the extra point. I was surprised they were thinking about going for 2, but the snap is down. It is up and is good by Roop, who makes this one and now puts Skyline out into the lead. And I'll tell you this, you give Skyline 50 yards to go, they're going to score because they've been scoring from 80. And there you have it now with the 3-point lead. Skyline up by a field goal over Brighton with 9:31 to go in the quarter.
You got to be wondering what Hicken is saying right there on the sidelines. It's like, I've got to be the go-to guy right now, I think, if you're Hicken. Because right now we know that Haig is hurt.
Yeah, Haig is hurt, and I'll tell you, the last defensive series by Skyline put a lot of pressure on Marietta on the pass. And I'll tell you, Brighton, but the whole second half, it's looked like Skyline's just walking around with a little more strut in their stride.
They're feeling it. Yeah, the momentum is entirely on the side of the Eagles as we saw the claw come out right before the fourth quarter here. And I think right now it's all on Marietta's shoulders. And we saw Marietta several times this season, very composed, but I don't think he's ever had the pressure that he's had now.
This one's going to go deep, and this is going to be taken on right around the goal line. by Chase Nickel, who brings it back across the 20. No Mike Haig on the kick return, but Haig is in the backfield. And you can see, actually, see the bright side. Look, their chest stuck out a little farther when Haig came into the huddle. And they go right to Haig, who grinds it up and shingled him, gives him nothing.
Yeah, and that's the story of what's going on right now. It looks like this defensive front four is impenetrable right now, even by someone as talented as Mike Haig.
I'll tell you, momentum is such a tricky thing, and it's on the side of Skyline right now. And I'll tell you, the Skyline defense has got a surge of energy coming, and this time back to pass. He's got a man open just off the fingertips as he was going to Hicken.
And it should have been caught. Should have been caught. Hicken wants that one back. It looked like the pass was just off of his fingertips.
Would have been an outstanding catch, but I'll tell you one that he wish he had another chance at. Just off the fingertips of Hicken is going to bring up a 3rd down and long for Marietta and the Bengals. Now trailing by 3 to Skyline in the 4th quarter, and they go to Haig on the draw up the middle. He gets the corner, breaks one tackle.
First down.
First down. Mike Haig will not be denied.
Gosh, if there was any doubts whether or not he was hurt, and he's still limping, but this guy is so courageous. I mean, it's amazing. He's probably, I don't even know what he's feeling. Oh, and there's a flag on the play. Who's it going to go against? Looks like Brighton was pointing against Skyline, but
Skyline's clapping, and they're talking to Skyline, so this one looks like it is going to go against Brighton, and they're facing that way, holding against Brighton, and that's going to bring them back, and it's going to bring up a 3rd down and now about 19 yards to go.
That's 2 huge missed opportunities. The draw pass by Hicken, and of course the penalty on that 1st down.
This time now, Marietta from the shotgun. He goes right back to Haig, who jukes out one guy, but now away from Sedillo, but Moiaki, and Sedillo gets back to make the tackle.
How did you like the way Moiaki held his ground?
Great job. First of all, Sedillo in the backfield makes Haig change direction. Moiaki having none of Mike Haig's moves. Going to bring up 4th down and kind of a conservative call, Pat, on 4th and 19.
Yeah, got to punt it.
And the punt is away. That's a good punt. It's going to take Marlowe, who fair catches it all the way back at the 40-yard line. But once again, Skyline, 41-yard line with the ball and the lead.
Look, the last possession that Skyline had previous to that punt, we saw Brighton come up big on defense. If there was ever a time to stack the deck, it's now.
1st and 10. This time they go. Actually, Marshall fakes to Johansson, and he's wrapped up. Hannah, a nice job tackling Marshall for maybe a yard gain.
Yeah, great tackle by Hannah.
Clock is running, and the clock is Skyline's friend now. A team that has been dominating time of possession this entire game. Now with a 2nd down coming up, 2nd down and long. This time Marshall runs around, almost trips, gets forward near the 45-yard line where it's going to bring up 3rd down and 6.
Let's see who fights this block off on the right side. It looks like Hicken. Hicken makes the tackle. Nice tackle because he fights off the block and he gets it.
It's going to bring up a big 3rd down and 6 for Skyline. The ball right on the 45-yard line. Nose touching the 45. He's got Malisi and Teoli on the wings. Johansson, the only back in the backfield. This time he goes right to Johansson, and he's forward for the 1st down before Hicken can wrap him up.
Did you see him run right off of the tail of Brian Vaulu? Boy, did he just blast off the line there, and that was the difference. And once again, that 1-2 combination between that huge offensive line and these incredible running backs, unstoppable.
Have we heard of a defensive lineman's name called on a tackle over the last quarter for Brighton? No, because they're into the secondary, and once again, this time it's Malisi into the secondary. He cuts back, and he beats Wood for the last time, and he's in for the score. A huge run, Kalama Malisi, for his 2nd score.
You know, the whole game, we've seen this outstanding offensive line just dominate, and once again, they blow up holes, and when you've got somebody look at that, once again, Brian Valu just blowing out holes, and Malisi, he's so quick and downfield blocking as well. Look at this cut right at the end, and then he runs right through Wood's tackle right here. But by that time, it's a moot point anyway, the way this Skyline team has been able to go, even if he does get tackled within the 5-yard line.
And check it out in the replay, and you see Orr downfield, the wide receiver even getting into the act, blocking, and everybody on that Skyline team has blocked from the running backs. So let's give the line a shout out right now. Plant, Walton, Higgins, Baulu, Carlson, tight end Taylor doing a fantastic job for Skyline as the extra point is up and good by Roop, and now Skyline with the 10-point lead.
And Sam Walton is going nuts coming off the sidelines after that extra point conversion. And the Skyline Eagles down by 10 at the half with 5:37 left in the fourth quarter, now up by 10.
A 20-point swing as you see Walton gone wild off to the sidelines. And I tell you, that whole Skyline sideline is blowing up right now because they've jumped out to the 10-point lead with 5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. Tom Cushing trying to figure out what to do to get
frustrated.
He's got to be frustrated.
Yeah, and you just gave me an idea for marketing something to the Skyline fans. Maybe we should try to find all of the tape of Walton running in the end zone all season long. Walton gone wild.
Running on late night television?
That's classic. 10-minute infomercials for Walton gone wild.
And there's some of the Brighton faithful. There's thousands of Brighton fans on the other side, and they are now actually a little quieter, and they try to rumble it up right here. This time, the reverse, and it goes to Jesse Taylor, and a beautiful job by Darren Fafai. Hopefully I got your name right, Darren, but a great job on special teams, not falling for that reverse.
Yeah, and this is one of the few times that all the games we've called that we have not heard Jesse Taylor's name this entire second half. What's that tell you about this blocking for the Skyline offense? They have handled these linebackers for Brighton.
Yeah, they have, and I'll tell you that reverse doesn't hold the same intensity with Hagnut back there, does it, Pat? All right, Marietta, his team trailing by 10. Back to pass, looking deep downfield. Throws it huge, overthrows everybody, incomplete.
Yeah, Hicken nowhere in the vicinity, and you got to wonder right now if things are starting to kind of fall off, the wheels starting to fall off the car here for Brighton, because Hicken is just completely out of his rhythm, and Marietta out of his rhythm, pardon me.
See Sorensen come back into the game. They're going to go single setback Hague. They're going to go double slot as Marietta comes up on this second down play. Deep in his own territory, ball in the 13. Back to pass. Looking over in the middle. He was looking for Grunander, who never turned around.
Maybe miscommunication on that play. He was running the slant in, and it looked like Marietta was thrown out.
Nonetheless, it's going to bring up 3rd down and 10. Back to pass again, under some pressure from Shingleton. He throws it up, overthrows his receiver. He was looking down the field for, was it Hamilton, number 8?
Yeah, Hamilton, number 8.
Hamilton, but overthrown. And I'll tell you, Brighton did not look good on that drive, Pat.
No, definitely not as crisp as we know they're capable of, but everything has seemed to have gone wrong after that turnover. And now they've got to be careful to try to keep off more points off the board.
Hunt, and the ball bounces, and it's dropped, and it's
how do you like this field position?
Come on, it's been great. And we've seen Skyline, they did 3 drives of 80 yards for scores. The last 2 drives, they've only had to go 50.
From midfield.
You know what I mean? It's a team that offensively has done anything it's wanted all game long against Brighton, and now all they got to do is run out the clock. Granted, there's still a little bit of time left, but, Skyline has shown as Molisi goes with the left side, Skyline has shown no sign of wilting.
No, quite the contrary. With that, Molisi looked like he could have run for another 20 yards had he not been tripped up.
This time they go to Teoa Alili up the middle, and he grinds out, and I'll tell you, no signs of wilting at all on Skyline. Their offense has seemed to have been able to do whatever they want.
Roger Dupay's strategy definitely working out here.
All right, as Marshall brings them up, this time they go to Teoa Alili, who gets over one running back and gets forward. He's close to another 1st down and chewing up yardage and clock.
Now it's getting to the point where this offensive line is just in complete control of this game. This Brighton defense, very, very talented defense nonetheless, just exhausted.
This time it was a whistle there. And I'll tell you, Pat, it's only been secondary guys making tackles for Brighton. And when your secondary is making tackles, that is not a good thing. A delay a game.
That's not completely fair. It hasn't been the whole game because, Brighton played tough, obviously, in the first half.
The penalty goes against Skyline. This time Marshall keeps it on the option himself, and he gets near the 35-yard line. Ball on the 36, second down and 2 to go.
Yeah, and there's your second time out here by the Brighton Bengals. And you got to wonder at this point, what you can do. You can hope for a turnover. You got to create a turnover, but how do you do it? You got to get penetration in the backfield. You got to figure out a way to slow down this 1-2 punch between Marshall and Johansson, not to mention those incredible running backs, Molisi and Teo Li'i, and we haven't been able to do it yet. It's going to tough to figure out how to do that with 3 minutes left in this ballgame.
The four-headed monster now with a third down and 2 to go, and it's Johansson forward again for a first down, 1st and 10, Skyline, and I'll tell you, Pat, this one is
it's in the books.
Brighton's going to need a miracle here. As you see, look at that hole by the offensive line of Johansson, who's had an outstanding game, runs into the secondary for probably who knows how many times he's been running into the secondary. But a first down for Skyline, and they go back to Johansson, only a gain of 4 that time.
Let's give a shout out again to this offensive line from Skyline. These guys have just been so dominant. They are the difference in this game.
Yeah, like I said, from the very get-go, first offensive drive, the only thing that's hurt Skyline has been turnovers.
Yeah, that's it. Completely annihilated the time of possession of this game.
And this time Marshall keeps it himself, running the ball, running for about 8 yards, and more importantly, running the clock. And I'll tell you, the Skyline side, as the Brighton faithful start filing out, Brighton is going to fall here to Skyline.
Yeah, and Brighton had an outstanding season, 2 outstanding seasons. They make it back to Rice-Eccles Stadium after being in the semis last year and losing a heartbreaker to Cottonwood. They lose only 1 game this entire season. They beat Skyline earlier in the year, 30-25, but Skyline, with the 5 losses they had, they come back and they were by far the most dominant team in this playoffs.
And I'll tell you, they go, Skyline beats Lone Peak, okay, then they go and take out Hunter, okay, then they beat West Jordan, get to the finals, and now they're going to take out Brighton, and a team that was barely getting into the playoffs is going to come away with, their 8th state championship under Roger Dupay.
And you said it before, take a look at Molisi, man. It's going to be amazing. I mean, he is look at him driving. Unbelievable, down to the 1-yard line, and I am so impressed with this sophomore. He has got to be the best sophomore in the state.
And Skyline's not going to have to reload much with him in the backfield. Talked about this being a fairly young team for Skyline and Roger Dupay.
They've ever had.
And now they're going to have the confidence of a state championship under their belt. Ball now, is he in resting on the 1-yard line?
1-yard line. Now it's going to be interesting to see whether or not they go for it. Looks like I was going to flag it. They obviously have this victory well in hand. Coach Roger Dupay is going to get his 8th state title in the Skyline Eagles. Nobody thought they were going to be here, guys. They are back.
There's 8th straight title as Marshall kneels on the ball. Their 8th straight title under Roger Dupay. 14th state title overall over the years. God, talk about a storied tradition. And Roger Dupay, an interesting coach, an interesting guy. I spent most of his last week at jury duty, so it wasn't in practice much, but now he's on the field and the jury is done. The verdict is in because it's Skyline 34-24 over Brighton. As you see the Skyline sideline starting to jump up and down. Patrick, a fantastic second half by Skyline.
Yeah, and hats off to Mike Haig. He had an outstanding season. We're going to see him again at BYU. He was injured today. That's definitely not the reason why Brighton lost, because Skyline operated on all cylinders and they dominated. The reason they won this game was because their offensive line and that talented foursome that was a wrecking crew, the Hydra. And but beyond that, Mike Haig had an outstanding season, as did Marietta and the rest of the Brighton Bengals. But today, it's all in the books. The Skyline Eagles had their 8th title under Roger Dupay.
Yeah, 8th title under Dupay. Like we said, 14 state titles for Skyline.
Gotcha.
Title high, as we might want to call this. As you see them celebrating on the field, make sure you stay tuned. We will have post-game interviews coming up. Play of the game, hit of the game. Who's the X Factor?
Gosh, I'm going to say the X Factor.
Who's the offensive player of the game?
Offensive player of the game is...
Who's the defensive player of the game? We don't know yet. I'm not giving you a chance to give it away. We want to make sure the audience stays tuned, as we will be back with post-game festivities. We'll call them as Skyline victorious 5A state champions 34-24 over Brighton.
would you like a permanent souvenir of this game? Well, Park City Television will sell our viewers a professionally recorded DVD or VHS of this game so you can have a lifetime keepsake. Only $15. Send one to the grandparents or to a friend, or keep for memories of a lifetime. Call us at 435-649-0045 to order your copy today.
All right, we're back with victorious head coach Roger DuPay. Congratulations on this outstanding victory. Out of all the wonderful state championships you've won, tell us how this compares.
Well, this got to be one of the best because we were really down and out there for a while, and the kids came back, and we got breaks, and the kids came back off injuries, and we just played. I don't know, we worked real hard. Just a lot of good things happened, and unfortunately, the Mike Haig got hurt because he is a stud. He's a really great player.
Well, you had some turnovers go your way. You had the big punt turnover in the second half. Talk to me about how much that played into the second half.
Well, it was just incredible. We were so fortunate. We gave the ball up twice in the first half, and we needed to get some turnovers in the second half in order to compete with Brighton. They're just a great team.
Now, your offense obviously just got a lot of yardage on the ground today. Your offensive line was blowing them out. But how about Moisi?
Well, he's something else, isn't he? And we're glad he'll be back next year.
Absolutely. And Jameson, the whole thing, Marshall, and it must be very special, of course, to have a son win a state championship like his father did for the Skyline Eagles.
Well, Steve Marshall and Steve Marla both had sons out there playing today, and they were big contributors to the win.
Well, congratulations on the state championship. A lot of people didn't think it was going to happen this year, but you pulled it off, Coach.
Well, from worst to first, what can I say?
Roger DuPay, state championship.
Head Outfitters is proud to introduce Trail Stars. They're a modern-day breadcrumb, only these breadcrumbs light up. They're bright, flashing LED lights that'll keep you and your family safe when it gets dark. Mark your car in a dark parking lot. Use as a safety flare. Mark a safe trail back to camp.
Trail Stars, a lighted, modern-day breadcrumb you can pick up at any Sportsman's Warehouse store or any other fine retailer.
You can even buy them online, www.trailstar.com or trailheadoutfittersllc.com.
All right, welcome back with our defensive player of the game, the Skyline Eagles. This is Chase Penley. Hey, you're a state champion. How's that feel?
Feels awesome. It's been a long time.
Hey, you guys had some outstanding, you guys defended Mike Haig very well today. Tell me what it was like, the intensity on that field.
It was so intense and so fast. It was just amazing. It's amazing.
Early in this game, you guys were down, bound by 10 points going to halftime. What does Coach DuPay tell you guys?
He just he's really confident and just fires us up and gets us to come back out and play harder.
Now, throughout the whole season, you guys had plenty of challenges. What's it feel like at the end of the day, man?
It's like a storybook ending, man. It feels awesome. Awesome to be here.
Congratulations, our defensive player of the game, Chase Penley, ladies and gentlemen. Take care.
At BMW of Salt Lake, we're riders first and salespeople second. Our friendly and knowledgeable staff includes the area's only certified BMW motorcycle master technicians, providing the best skills for the latest technology. We offer a full selection of motorcycles, accessories, and riding apparel, plus you can take a test ride before you buy. BMW of Salt Lake, located at 215 North Redwood Road in North Salt Lake, or toll free at 888-269-6375.
And now, for your hit of the game, take a look at Mike Haig. He goes down here on the tackle for Ben Bradshaw. He rolls his ankle. Now, that might not have been the most impressive hit, but in terms of impact to this game, All-Stater Mike Haig goes down, and he wasn't the same since. Take a look how Mike Haig's ankle is rolled. He was injured before this, but this certainly didn't help matters. And as a due to the impact on Mike Haig, that is by far your hit of the game.
A steady girlfriend. I'm maturing nicely, I think. Here's another example. I eat McDonald's double cheeseburgers, which I love, which I order off the dollar menu, which gives me a lot of food for not much dough. But I don't poke a hole in the wrapper, twirl it on my nose anymore and go, woo, woo, woo. Stop doing that.
All right, here we go. I'm with the X factors of the game. We got double X going because these guys are extra large. Moisi, Toa Lili. I mean, first of all, congratulations. How's it feeling right now?
Man, it feels great, man. We came through some bumps in the road, and we finally came out strong. We knew it all along. No one else knew we could do it, but we knew we could do it the whole time, baby. And that's why we're number one.
Now, okay, Beautiful job. Now, first of all, you guys really dominated ball control, ran all over those guys today. I mean, how did you guys set up think you could just grind it out on these guys from the get-go?
Yeah, after the first touchdown, punching it in, and we just came out on sideline. The coach is like, we ain't done, and we just they asked us what was good, and we just told them to punch them in the mouth all night, all day.
Now, all three of your other running back, Johansson, had great games. Okay, you guys are the two wingmen, so I'm saying double wide, double X, going in big time. Talk about just the whole running back crew and the whole offense all together. Sweet.
It's the best. Skyline backfield's the best. That's all I gotta say.
Backfield's the best. And how is it running behind some big offensive linemen? Give your offensive line.
Oh man, yeah, the biggest line in the state, best line in the state, no doubt about it. We just proved it right there. No doubt about that.
All right, combination of speed and power. This is the X factors right here. Double X, double large. Right on, guys. Hey, congratulations.
Hi, I'm John Meekum from John Meekum Dodge, Chrysler Jeep in Park City. And we support high school football because it's so fantastic for the young people. They learn discipline, they learn perseverance, they learn all the skills necessary to run into life. We'd like to say congratulations to all you teams that made it this far. It's going to be fun. And for the rest of you watching at home, have a happy Thanksgiving.
John Meekum Dodge Chrysler Jeep is Park City's neighborhood dealership. With friendly staff and professional sales consultants and a courteous service department. Make your next vehicle purchase at your Park City neighborhood dealership. John Meekum Dodge Chrysler Jeep.
And here's your play of the game. Malcolm Benton back to punt for Skyline, trailing at this point by 4 points, but after the muffed punt, Skyline will recover, and the first one down. There he is, Mike Daly, the long snapper, gets down, first one to recover the botched punt, and Skyline gets the ball and will eventually take the lead and the game. That is your play of the game.
May I help you?
What's going on here?
Happened when we got Redbox and started renting movies.
Hey look, subtitles.
Yep.
Check out Redbox at McDonald's. Rent the hottest new releases on DVD for just $1 a night, then return them to any Redbox location. And while you're here, take advantage of McDonald's delicious dollar menu.
All right, I'm with the offensive player of the game, Matt Marshall. It's got to feel phenomenal getting back and winning a state championship.
Oh, I can't describe it right now. This is the most unbelievable feeling. I mean, we came through so much diversity in these playoffs, and we did it. We were the best legacy at Skyline, and we pulled it off. I mean, so many Skyline teams have gone through so much and won, and they've been undefeated, but we're the only team that we're 5-5 and won. I mean,
that's what I was going to say. I was going to say, back about maybe a month ago, did you actually think you were going to be here? I know you guys had a team meeting, had a kind of a regrouping, and obviously it paid off.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't look to the championship because we lost 4 games, so we're like, we can't look at that right now. I mean, we lost 4 games, so we took each game, and like I was telling my friends, I'm like, I can't believe it's a championship because we focused on each game so much because we were the underdog, and we got a students championship, and we said, all right, well, this is it, let's just do it, and we just pulled it off.
You know, your coach DeFace, he's pretty loose and easy, and you guys came in kind of in a reflection of your coach, loose and easy.
Yeah, he's a funny guy, I won't lie, he's a funny guy. Yeah, we just came in this game, we knew what we had to do. I mean, we played these guys before, and we knew what we had to do, and we did it. This is just unbelievable.
Now, talk about the fact, okay, father-son state championship.